and investing in real estate. Get the expertise of Tom Cunningham, eXp Realty. That's 708-369-7625, tomcrealty.com. Happy Days Cunningham makes sure you have the results you're looking for.
Your home or business has storm damage and you have an insurance claim.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters. Today, insurance companies are notorious for offering way too little money to repair damage to your home or commercial building due to wind, hail, tornado, floods, or fire. Crosscom works for you, not the insurance company. As licensed adjusters, Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout.
Call Crosscom.
630-871-5500. After they get you the fair insurance company result, Crosscom can start doing your repairs. Crosscom is a full construction and restoration company that will get your property back to its pre-loss condition, getting your life back to normal. Roof, siding, windows, doors, fire restoration, Crosscom does it all.
Call Crosscom.
Licensed in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. We share your conservative and Christian values. Let us handle everything. It all starts with a call.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Medical Professionals, is God calling you to contribute your medical skills for something more? Are you looking for better hours and a more flexible schedule? Since 2009, Waterleaf Women's Center in Aurora, Illinois has provided free and compassionate care to thousands of women facing an unplanned pregnancy. Due to the incredible growth of our ministry and the upcoming addition of wellness and prenatal services, we are seeking new members to join our medical team of doctors, nurses, and sonographers. Waterleaf offers a comfortable working environment, flexible hours, a Christ-centered approach, and a competitive salary. We consistently rank among the top-performing nonprofit pregnancy clinics in the nation, and our patient survey scores are phenomenal. For more information, please call Waterleaf Women's Center at 630-701-6270, 630-701-6270, or visit onechoiceonelife.org today. That website, onechoiceonelife.org. onechoiceonelife.org.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be sunny, becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight, it will be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies and breezy weather with a high of 57. By Wednesday, it will be cloudy, windy with a chance of showers in the area, reaching a high of 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and before we begin, I was inspired over the weekend to emulate one of the great communicators of recent memory, of course, speaking of KJP, and I just wanted to say to our audience, so I don't have to say it, after the fact when I'm long gone from AM 560, which is this: as a heterosexual male honky, I just want you to know I wake up every day and do the best job I can.
Karine, do you have any regrets at all for anything that you said while you were speaking on behalf of this administration?
It's
a simple yes or no.
No, because you're asking for a yes or no question. I want to put some context to it too. I woke up every day. I woke up every day very proud to be the White House press secretary. I woke up every day as a Black woman who is queer, no one had ever seen someone like me at that podium standing behind that lectern. It was an honor and a privilege to have that job. And I did it to the best of my abilities.
Yes. And that's the same over here for this heterosexual male honky. If you'd like to call in and obviously disclose your identities and make an announcement about what you're thankful for, the association you're proud to have, and the work that you put in every day. Of course, we'd welcome that. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Other people that are proud to be for example, a black man with a black wife who is raising 3 black kids. That would be BLM Brandon Johnson. He wakes up every day and he does the best job that he can. He's proud to be the mayor of Chicago, and he wakes up and does the job to the best of his abilities every single day, as he did on Friday when he provided some instruction on proper nomenclature when discussing people in this country illegally. He's very proud of this.
We don't have illegal aliens.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's from some sort of sci-fi message that you wish have had. Well, listen, the legal term for my people were slaves. You want me to use that term too? So look, let's just get the language right. We're talking about undocumented individuals that are human beings. The last thing that I'm going to do is accept the type of racist, nasty language to describe human beings. And so as far as our spending...
Yeah. So stop with the sci-fi terminology. They're human beings, just as the legal term for his people or I don't know. The logic escapes me. But, he operates at such a high level because as a black man, something else he's proud of, he has a certain intellectual prowess that intimidates honkies like Trump, certainly like myself. And I just don't, I don't understand the relitigating slavery. I don't understand how the crime endemic to Chicago in 2025 is all Richard Nixon's fault. I mean, some of the, again, highbrow, complicated, textured arguments that BLM Brandon makes, a proud black man with a black wife raising 3 black kids in Chicago, doing his best every day to be mayor of Chicago. Some of that evades me. I'll just be honest. Somebody else who's proud every day to be the governor of Illinois, and he does the job to the best of his ability every day as a fat, honky, heterosexual, ? A Jewish gentleman is J.B. Pritzker. And he, J.B. and B.J. had a little bit of parting of company on Friday in their dueling press availabilities when it came to the idea that the extra layer of protection we can provide for illegal aliens. Individuals in this country who are undocumented, who are human beings, is to go to remote learning again in CPS so that they can hide out the people who are undocumented individuals who are human beings living in this country so they can more effectively escape the activities of ICE agents. There was a bit of an impasse there. BLM Brandon, BJ, floated the idea, and his partner in crime, and I mean that just about literally, JB said...
Remember, very importantly, I think one thing we learned during COVID is that remote learning really has a deleterious effect on kids' ability to get the kind of education that they need. And so we want to do everything we can to keep kids in school where they are safer, frankly, than when they're wandering around in the community. And so that's what we're focused on, is making sure they get the best education possible, and that's really done in the classroom.
Lessons learned. The national leader in consecutive emergency declarations issued, that would be JB. No, maybe not do remote learning. Don't want to deal with that chaos. Right now, I'm running for president, I think was the subtext of what he was saying there. Because as much as I want to agree on the remote learning piece, when it comes to CPS, I'm a little perplexed as to what exactly the difference in educational outcomes would be, whether it's remote learning or in class learning. I know that, again, every day these 2 proud men JB and BJ, who do the jobs to the best of their abilities every day. One as a, again, you can't say this enough, as a black man with a black wife raising 3 black kids in the city of Chicago. The other as a fat, honky, heterosexual Jewish gentleman. They do the job to the best of their ability every day, and that includes obviously providing all the kids in Chicago with the opportunity to earn a world-class education, because that's what the evidence reflects. Text from Amish texter friend Dan. As a white honky, I thought you were a historic figure and certainly walk in history every single day. Thank you, Amish. Boy, I'm getting a little bit of a migraine, though, talking like these identitarians, I have to tell you. Craig in Mount Greenwood, of course.
Oh, hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call, man. I'm just a skinny old senior citizen, feisty, everything.
Yeah.
All, like,
you're proud of that, and you do the best of you do that job, being a feisty, honky senior citizen. You do that job to the best of your ability every single day.
That's right. But here's the thing that I noticed that she didn't own up that GJP, whatever the heck her thing, her anonyms are and all that thing. Anyways, she didn't take and admit everything. She woke up every damn morning and was figuring out how she could absolutely deceive and lie and scheme and cheat to cover up one of the biggest, rottenest, most significant lies in our country's history, with covering for a president that was not really our president. It was all jacked up and everything, like all those chemicals and stuff, and didn't know what the heck, which day it was or anything. And she covered it all up, and she did a fantastic job. So she's
right. Did she though? I don't know. Thanks for the call, Craig. Feisty old senior citizen honky from Mount Greenwood who does that job to the best of his ability every day. Did she do a great job of covering that up, or did she do a job that was to the best of her abilities? I'm inclined to the latter myself. Pritzker also wanted to thank the ICE whistleblowers, quote unquote, because these professional agitators, probably on the payroll of some state-financed NGO masquerading as a repository for political operatives to be tapped to get to work at any moment, like for this professional agitation that's going on now with respect to federal law enforcement. He's proud of them because these professional agitators of all shapes and sizes, races and religions, they do the job of trying to prevent the enforcement of federal law every single day to the best of their abilities.
People are gathering in communities. The number of whistles that have been sold to people who are walking around and ready to blow the whistle when they see something bad happening in the community because there's a federal agent wandering around stopping people because their skin is brown or black. The number of people that are trying to protect and do their, I think, civic duty has grown exponentially, and I'm really proud of that and proud of the people of Chicago and the entire region.
Exactly. Proud of the job they do every single day, because there's nothing that a governor should be more prideful in than a bunch of professional agitators on the state payroll, largely, who are preventing federal law from being enforced so that people in this country, undocumented people, human beings in this country, can live with impunity, many of whom happen to be those who have run afoul of the law, including criminal laws surrounding Class X felonies. But I digress. It's mostly about pride and identity. Paul and Carrie are on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, let me just posit this question. If the right were to cave and the left would consent, we'll throw this out there that yes, they can stay here on a visa. However, they'd never be allowed to vote, not in 5 years, not in 10 years. They are not entitled to entitlements, nor will they ever be granted amnesty. Will they still go along with that? Because then we get our quote-unquote lettuce pickers, because remember, they're here because we need workers. So there, in fact, lies our lettuce pickers, because that's all they do. They're not in our city councils. They're not taking jobs from the Americans, nor are they running for governors.
They're not on the Hanover Park Police Department. Yeah.
Nor are they running for mayors of major cities. Yeah. So, I mean, would they agree to that? They can stay on work visas. However, never be allowed, most importantly, ever be allowed to vote. How's that?
Thanks for the call, Paul. I'll run that up the flagpole, see who salutes. Lewis, Southside.
Well, what he was just saying is all wrong. When they bring those people in here, what they are is they are replacements for the people that are leaving the state, and that we are losing Congress seats and electoral seats because they go by the census. But that's not what I called them for. What they talking about with this remote education is that what will happen is that the state and the city will lose money because the funding for the population, the funding for education depends on the population of the school. Also,
the average daily attendance. I know, Lewis, that's technically true, but those are always workarounds. Come on now.
Okay, now this is another thing that it depends on too. Is that another thing that it depends on is the funding for daycare. The funding for daycare, and then it also affects the people who have to work. They looking for that for their children to be somewhere safe and be being educated, and so it hits them three ways. With the funding for the school, the population, with the daycare.
Lewis, to borrow a phrase, I think you're burdened by what has been. You need to unburden yourself. Thanks for the call. Coming up at 5:38. Speaking of pride, Gavin Newsom. Governor Patrick Bateman finally letting us in on the little secret that he's running for president. No, really? And has a wonderful Horatio Alger story about, to borrow a phrase, being poor black child, and look at him now. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 47 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A federal judge has ruled the detention of a Chicago man by immigration authorities is illegal. The ruling states that Ruben Torres Maldonado, whose 16-year-old daughter has a rare and advanced form of cancer, must get a bond hearing by Friday. Torres was detained on October 18th, and his attorneys are seeking his release. While U.S. District Judge Jeremy Daniels says the detention violates due process rights, he said he couldn't order an immediate release. Torres' attorney, though, sees the ruling as a win. The Department of Homeland Security alleges that Torres had been living illegally in the U.S. for years and has a history of driving offenses. His daughter's treatment has been interrupted because of the stress of the arrest. And as the federal government shutdown continues, new concerns over food insecurity grow. According to the Illinois Department of Human Services, if SNAP funds are not delivered by the federal government, the state of Illinois does not have the budgetary ability to, quote, backfill these critical resources. This news report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now
Larry Elder explains what they want to open the government.
The Democrats want to put back $1.5 trillion in spending. They want to refund NPR, PBS, and they want to remove the protections in the Big Beautiful Bill Act that would prevent illegal aliens from getting Medicaid. They've always said, let's reopen the government and then we can negotiate our differences. Except they're not doing that this time because, well, Trump.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Dan Proft here. Data shows that boys make up more than 1/3 of those exploited in the sex trade. However, there are virtually no services available to male victims and survivors of trafficking and exploitation. They are often overlooked, ignored, and left without support. For 35 years, Emmaus has been on the front lines of an issue most of us can hardly imagine, helping men and boys in Chicago escape the nightmare of human trafficking and rebuild their lives. On November 1st, you're invited to attend an unforgettable evening at the Emmaus 35th Anniversary Gala at Fisherman's Inn in Elburn, Illinois. Together, they'll celebrate faith, freedom, and restoration with a beautifully catered dinner, an inspiring program, and a silent auction, all to support the mission of rescuing and restoring survivors. This is your chance to do something that truly matters. Reserve your seat today, or if you can't attend, make a life-changing donation at streets.org. That's streets.org. Emmaus is restoring lives. Let's help them keep going. Visit streets.org. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Anthony and John here from Bionic Auto Parts, proud clients of Signature Bank. We deliver high-quality, recycled and remanufactured auto parts to Chicago and Milwaukee. Our mission is simple: provide parts safely, reliably, with great customer satisfaction.
We process over 350 vehicles a month. With big banks, everything took forever. Layers of approvals and endless delays. At Signature Bank, one call got it done. Whether it's lending, deposits, or treasury management, they deliver fast. Signature Bank made us feel like family. That's a partnership we deeply appreciate.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves with Active Liver from New Nordic. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be sunny, becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow is forecasted to be mostly cloudy and breezy with a high of 57. Wednesday will be cloudy and windy with a chance of a shower in the area. The high temperature will reach 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just a proud, white, heterosexual male well, I already said white. Proud heterosexual male honky. Male heterosexual honky. I'm not used to speaking an identitarian, so I've got to get the patter down better like KJP has it. Doing the best I can every day, just like she did. Inspiring us all to do the best that we can based on our identitarian characteristics, I guess. I guess somehow that's either limiting or enhancing. I'm not really sure. You're going to have to ask her. Another heterosexual male honky doing the best that he can every day at his job is the governor of California, Patrick Bateman. He recently appeared on this podcast, All the Smoke, which is co-hosted by former NBAers Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. Both had pretty good careers. Steven Jackson was one of those rare, right from high school to the NBA, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, he was in the league for, 15, 17 years, something like that. Anyway, that's not the point. And no implication that they were point shaving or involved in high-stakes rigged poker games with New York crime families either. But they were involved in interviewing Gavin Newsom, or more to the point, listening to the governor there, Patrick Bateman, spin his Horatio Alger story. He knows what their childhoods were like. I'm talking about Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. Kids from a rough upbringing, just trying to make it in this crazy mixed up world. He knows. He's been there. He's done it.
But also, it was also about paying the bills, man. And it was just like hustling. and so I was out there kind of raising myself, turning on the TV, started, just getting obsessed, sitting there with the Wonder Bread and 5 stacks of,
it's like the White Stack 5 story.
Come on. Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Bro. Are you talking about me?
Yo,
YG. YG, man.
Every day in the backyard, just bouncing the basketball, throwing the ball against the wall until the ball is just like fraying, man. And your arms fall
yourself.
off. That's it. Whole thing. So just, and then, then this student that was shitty student is in the back with his head down, all of a sudden started throwing the baseball a little faster than everyone else. and started, make a few free throws because I was sitting there practicing 500 of them every damn night. And in high school, I look up in the stands, my dad's back up there.
Okay, dope.
And it's like, man, and then he's bringing his friends, and you're captain of the team, and you're like, gee, and it just saved me, and it got me into college.
312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line. That's right. You heard him.
It was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.
When I see Gavin Newsom and Steven Jackson standing next to each other, it's like I'm looking at a twin. Same stories. Same in terms of the hard scrabble upbringing, and then through sheer force of will, tenacity, and practice, coming into their own as basketball stars. Gavin Newsom choosing public service, though, where Steven Jackson went to the NBA. Not saying Gavin Newsom couldn't have gone. Of course not. He chose, because he's one of those people that public service is in his blood. So after he got into college and then Stanford Law School, I wonder if the Getty family helped with that. I don't know. Maybe. He joined the Peace Corps, and he went to the Dark Continent to teach him the game that he had mastered here.
You must understand, these people had been completely isolated from civilization. No one had ever outlined a physical fitness program for them, and they had no athletic equipment. I started them on simple calisthenics, then gradually worked them up to rudimentary game skills, and finally advanced competitive theory. I was patient with them, and they were eager to learn. They seemed to enjoy themselves. It was probably due to the advanced American teaching techniques that we were able to bridge the generations of isolation and communicate so successfully with the Molumbos.
I think they're getting the hang of it.
Yeah, I think they did. Amazing work he did with the Molumbo tribe. 312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line. Don't you love the phony Horatio Alger stories from the politicians? So now we've got Gavin Newsom's right up there with Corn Pop and T-Bone, down with the struggle, scraping to get by. He knows what it's like for a man to hurt. There's a picture in the San Francisco Chronicle, so now all this stuff is circulating. His dad, by the way, was a tax lawyer. He was enlisted by the Getty family to be the custodian of a $2 billion trust fund. Later in his life, after he ran for office in California and lost, he was appointed to the district court level there, I think by Governor Pat Brown, and then later to the appellate court. There's a San Francisco Chronicle piece from 1991. Gavin Newsom with Paul Mohan, Andrew Getty, and Billy Getty for a quote-unquote Children of the Rich feature that ran in the San Francisco Chronicle. Children of the Rich. Wait a second. He doesn't have time to hang out with with rich kids, and I shouldn't say with rich kids. He's out there playing basketball to pay the rent or some such thing. The Horatio Alger stories that politicians tell. They can't just be, they're just so, not all, but those who do this, they are just so guilty and they are so empty that they have to manufacture some story, some phony rags to riches story so they can pretend like they connect with people who haven't had everything handed to them, haven't had every door open for them, which is basically the real story of Gavin Newsom, isn't it? By the way, he's not the only jock out there, and maybe in the field for the Democrats in 2028, because of his commitment to fitness his athletic achievements. You never know. Even in his 80s, Comrade Bernie could make it in 2028, make it into the field. This was an interview he gave with Axios, where he is bitching, as he always is, about people who want to live in a capitalist society. And this time it was so timely now with, baseball playoffs and the NFL season kicking off. Bernie is outraged at the cost of tickets to professional sporting events, and he's going to do something about it. Now he is. His office is working on it. And, he doesn't want to brag, but...
Virtually every NFL team, every major basketball team, NBA, every major baseball team, who do you think owns them? They're all owned by billionaires. When I was a kid, I went to Evans Field in Brooklyn. You know what bleacher seats were at those times where we went? 60 cents. When we really got rich, we paid $1.25. All right, for another seat. In those days, actually, a family of four could go out to enjoy a baseball game without, blowing the family budget. And it saddens me that in many respects, what professional athletic, and I, as a kid, I was a bit of a jock, played basketball, was a runner, and I respect these athletes enormously. They're great athletes. But it does really bother me that with billionaire ownership of almost every major team in America, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever it may be, they charge these outrageous prices, and it become a corporate type of activity. They have all these great boxes, right, for their rich and famous friends, and I would love to see that kind of change.
Yeah, I played a little ball, sure, played a little ball, and was a runner, a bit of a jock, Comrade Bernie. Man, I love these guys. By the way, there's a great, just going back to Patrick Bateman, there's a great little video circulating of him on a trip to China back in 2023, where he was basically, polishing the apple of President Xi, if you will, turn down the heat, manage our strategic differences. Of course, he's all in with the Chi-Coms. Anyway, he does a photo op at a basketball court with a bunch of, Chinese kids. And he's going to show off the skills that made him such a playground legend. And he starts dribbling the ball and does a little, reverse dribble and loses his feet, trips over his own feet, and crashes down on this little Chinese kid. Fortunately, no Chinese kids were injured in the display of Gavin Newsom playing basketball, but nonetheless, I mean, this guy. On a more serious note with respect to Newsom, Sean Duffy, going back to the story we talked about quite a bit on Friday, not just that crash that happened in California with that driver in this country illegally, an undocumented person who's an individual in this country, Brandon Johnson might say, but it is another Sikh Indian, illegal immigrant, illegally obtained a CDL license, and a federal audit finds there are 62,000 such CDL licenses that have been issued in Gavin Newsom's California. And Sean Duffy, he's the Secretary of Transportation. He had this to say about it.
Gavin Newsom has thumbed his nose at us. He's refused to comply with the rules that have come from DOT, which is stop issuing these licenses, number one. And number two, go back and review all the licenses that you have issued and make sure it's been done legally. Gavin Newsom has said no. So, one, I'm about to pull $160 million from California. And as we pull more money, we also have the option of pulling California's ability to issue commercial driver's licenses. Gavin Newsom cares more about illegals getting commercial driver's licenses than he does the citizens of his own state and the safety of Americans. It's shameful. He's been lying about what he's been doing. And again, we're going to fight tooth and nail under President Trump's administration to make sure that we hold states like California accountable.
And actually, our friend Ted Dabrowski from Wire Points, a Republican candidate for governor in Illinois this cycle, who I'm supporting, he followed suit last week, and he called for a review of all CDL license holders in Illinois who got their CDLs from California or any other sanctuary state, including, of course, Illinois. Since before there were these crashes in Florida and California that we've talked so much about in the last several weeks, there was, of course, the Scott and Janet Willis tragedy that happened under George Ryan almost 3 decades ago. And we mentioned it before, we're going to mention it again. When you have 6 kids burned up on a highway because licenses for bribes, that wasn't any sort of ideology surrounding allowing people here illegally to stay. It was just indifference to the fact and using CDL licenses as a fundraising tool. Of course, that was the culture under George Ryan. Oh, and by the way, under Jim Edgar, too. It was just George Ryan that took the fall for something that was going on under him, and he should have, but it preceded him, and I suspect probably continued after his departure as well under Jesse White. Because where's the accountability in Illinois for any of this stuff? It's absent. So it's an opportunity to put attention on not just what's going on in California, but every other sanctuary state, including this sanctuary state. And we have at least one candidate who wants to shine a spotlight on it, while our actual Secretary of State, Ali G., is out there preening for the cameras, following in the wake of Jelly Belly with the incendiary ICE rhetoric, because that's how he scores cheap political points, and public safety be damned. The situation in California, though, which Sean Duffy was talking about, it's worse than just this driver who killed 3 people getting a license. According to a DOT report released on Friday, state officials unlawfully upgraded his CDL license weeks after a new federal rule went into effect, barring illegal immigrants from holding such privileges. So what happened was this driver in California, his CDL licenses was intra-state only within the state of California. Well, before the crash, Gavin Newsom's, his administration upgraded that individual CDL licenses such that he could drive anywhere. The restrictions, which require states to verify an applicant's legal status, the new federal rule, took effect September 26th, while the 21-year-old Indian national's driving rights were expanded on October 15th, according to the report issued by DOT on Friday. So, that this starts to get into, you heard Duffy on Bartiromo, and he went on to say, if Newsom had followed the new rules, this would have never happened. But this starts to get into where you knowingly flout federal law, and then someone commits a preventable crime. Can you pierce an elected official's sovereign immunity? A political choice, being, immune legally for your political choices, your policy choices, that's one thing as a public official. But when you're knowingly flouting the law, you're knowingly breaking the law or causing the law to be broken. If you could put Gavin Newsom as directing people to not, at the Secretary of State's level in California, to ignore that federal rule that went into effect on September 26th, that would be an interesting case. George in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Did Gavin Newsom recall in his hardscrabble days bussing tables at the French Laundry?
Well, exactly. Thanks for the call, George. What a story that is. One day he is bussing tables at the French Laundry as a young man, just trying to get by on his basketball talents and his tireless work ethic. And then fast forward into the future, and he's having a fundraiser at the French Laundry while he's locked down the rest of the state. What a story. What a great rags to riches, Brewster's Millions kind of story. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Rick Borick talks about the emotions of stock market investing.
At what point would you rethink your decision that you're invested in the stock market? And you'll notice that someone who answered that question 6 months ago saying, I'm not going to panic until it's down 30%, calls you up on the phone and says, it's down 8, what's going on? And I says, what happened to the 30% guy, right?
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Robert Anderson, president of McLaughlin Body Company in the Quad Cities, and a customer of Signature Bank. When our 100-year-old family-owned manufacturing company was looking for a new bank, we found an excellent partner with Signature Bank. Signature Bank understands the challenges with manufacturing in today's highly competitive environment. We recently participated in the New Markets Tax Credit Program, and we're fortunate to have the experts at Signature Bank help us navigate the complexities of this program. With Signature Bank's support, we were able to expand not only our facility, but ultimately our business. If you're looking for a trusted banking partner for your business, look to Chicago's own Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com. AM 560. The Answer.
It's Halloween is upon us, right? In like 4 days. The Hate Has No Home Here signs, they've been replaced, not necessarily, or accentuated. Replaced or accentuated. Teal pumpkins. Have you seen teal pumpkins on your neighbor's porch or doorstep? The teal pumpkins. This is important. It's to make Halloween more inclusive by signaling things like non-food treats are available for children with food allergies. Participants can join by displaying a teal pumpkin and offering non-food items such as glow sticks, stickers, or small toys to help all the kids enjoy the holiday safely. It's all about inclusivity. Teal is the official color of inclusivity. Has that made one of those LGBTQIA2S plus flags? I'm not sure. Anyway, if anybody's seen a teal pumpkin and can provide the profile on the neighbor or friend who's sporting the teal pumpkin, I'd be interested to hear that, just to see if my intuition is correct, that what sounds all enlightened and consider it is just another sort of, flag emoji on your social media accounts kind of deal to, promote the values that the left purports to have that they don't really exhibit on a routine basis. Coming up at 6:06, we will turn our attention to Deerfield High School. And please join me, won't you, in taking the Deerfield High School privilege quiz that the kids are taking so you can find out what your privilege score is. That's at 6:06. It's now 6 a.m. on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
A royal welcome in Tokyo. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. President Trump has met with Japan's Emperor Naruhito after landing in Japan today. The current stop on his week-long trip to Asia. He meets tomorrow, this evening, U.S. time, with new Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi.
In Japan's parliament, she was a close ally of President Trump's really good friend, the late Shinzo Abe, who left office and then was assassinated, but whose wife remains a close friend of President Trump and has visited him at Mar-a-Lago. So President Trump has a very, very high opinion of her, which is rare because he typically is very skeptical of world leaders that he does not know. When they meet, she is going to float a proposal for the Japan Transport Ministry, basically the trucks that go around and inspect the roads and make sure that everything is safe, is going to buy potentially a whole fleet of Ford F-150 trucks.
Fox's Peter Ducey there. President Trump is also congratulating Argentina's president.
President Javier Milei expanding his control of Congress and giving his government fresh momentum to push forward with deep spending cuts and sweeping free market reforms. The Argentine president's upstart party scored over 40% of votes, compared with 31% for the left-leaning populist opposition movement. Milei is seen as a key ideological ally of President Donald Trump.
It's Fox's Angela Bavaro there. Hurricane Melissa. It's getting close to Jamaica as a Category 5 storm.
The slow motion is going to mean those hurricane conditions, potentially major hurricane conditions, are going to sit or occur over the island for in excess of 24 hours.
That's National Hurricane Center Deputy Director Jamie Rome. Hamas says that it is expanding the search for the remains of hostages still in Gaza with the help of specialists from equipment from Egypt. Israel's accused Hamas of violating its ceasefire deal by withholding the bodies of 13 hostages. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker announced the end of Chicago's Kennedy Expressway Rehabilitation Project 1 month early. Pritzker thanked the union workers for their collaboration, which aided in the work's early completion. Illinois Transportation Secretary Gia Biaggi noted that the project started in 2023. Rehab work used $169 million from taxpayers through the Rebuild Illinois Capital Program. The project caused major congestion and resulted in much longer travel times for commuters. The Chicago Mounted Police Unit joined Bravehearts for Trail to Zero, a 20-mile journey to raise awareness for veteran mental health and suicide prevention Saturday morning. Officers say their ride was to honor those who were lost while focusing on the healing power of equine therapy and community. 2 teenagers are recovering from gunshot wounds received yesterday morning. According to reports, the victims were at a business when a man came up to them and fired shots. An 18-year-old male was shot in the upper right leg, and a 19-year-old male shot in his left calf. Both victims expected to recover from their injuries. Police have no suspects at this time. A federal judge has ruled the detention of a Chicago man by immigration authorities is illegal. The ruling states that Ruben Torres Maldonado, whose 16-year-old daughter has a rare and advanced form of cancer, must get a bond hearing by Friday. Torres was detained on October 18th, and his attorneys are seeking his release. While U.S. District Judge Jeremy Daniels says the detention violates due process rights, he said he couldn't order an immediate release. Torres' attorney, though, sees the ruling as a win. The Department of Homeland Security alleges that Torres had been living illegally in the U.S. for years and has a history of driving offenses. His daughter's treatment has been interrupted because of the stress of the arrest. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560. The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Nauman and Associates, Scott Tucker Solutions Incorporated, and by Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago.
Feel that chill in the air? Now's the perfect time to layer up. The outerwear shop is now open at Untuckit with sharp new jackets and vests made for this season and beyond. You'll find all the right layers to keep you warm and looking sharp, including cozy sweaters, sweatshirts, and more. But hurry, fall weather won't wait, and neither should you. So don't miss the outerwear shop, open now at untuckit.com in more than 80 stores worldwide. Untuckit, shirts designed to be worn, untucked.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say Micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Honey, what's for dinner?
Honestly, nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
Because every time I need a pan, I have to unload half the kitchen first.
It's like Jenga, but with casserole dishes.
Exactly. And I always lose.
At Forever Remodeling, we create kitchens that fit your life, not the other way around. From smart storage to stunning finishes, start cooking in a kitchen built just for you. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com.
Feel that chill in the air? Now's the perfect time to layer up. The outerwear shop is now open at Untuckit with sharp new jackets and vests made for this season and beyond. You'll find all the right layers to keep you warm and looking sharp, including cozy sweaters, sweatshirts, and more. But hurry, fall weather won't wait, and neither should you. So don't miss the outerwear shop, open now at untuckit.com in more than 80 stores worldwide. Untuckit, shirts designed to be worn, untucked.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. All right, people starting to hit the roads this morning. Traffic coming alive. The Edens looking good. No delays inbound or outbound. On the Kennedy, stop and go. Already building traffic outbound between 90 and Manheim. Slow traffic on the Eisenhower due to an accident on the right shoulder. This is outbound Ike between Central and Austin Boulevard. That'll set you back about 5 minutes. The Tri-State Tollway already seen some issues if you're on the outbound Eisenhower ramp. That's northbound between Reagan Memorial and the Eisenhower Expressway. Things are cooking on the Dan Ryan. An earlier accident slowing up traffic on the local lanes. That's inbound Dan Ryan between 63rd and 59th Street, so watch there. Stevenson looking good. Got some traffic building on the inbound lanes between Cicero and Kedzie Avenue. And traffic slowly creeping up on the Bishop Ford if you're inbound between 103rd and Dan Ryan Expressway. Traffic, a service of Fox Valley Coins, currently buying all gold and silver bars and coins, silver dollars, rare date proof, and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check out that forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny, becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight, it will be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies and breezy weather with a high of 57. By Wednesday, it will be cloudy, windy with a chance of showers in the area, reaching a high of 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Another story from the yes, this stuff is still going on, even though Trump is in the White House file. Deerfield High School. And I saw this because Nicole Georges posted this on X. Nicole Georges, you remember, is the Deerfield mom. I think it was Shepherd Middle School in Deerfield from a few months back, whose daughter and other girls were forced by the administration, with the backing of the school board, to change in front of a boy identifying as a girl at the middle school in Deerfield. And Nicole Georges' daughter didn't like that, and mom didn't like that. And so there's a bit of a brouhaha that's still ongoing. It's the subject of a civil rights investigation by the federal government. Deerfield High School, Nicole George posted on X that her daughter had to take this quiz I'm about to go through. Miss Shaw was the teacher's name, posted by Nicole Georges at Deerfield High School, who apparently had the idea to administer this quiz to the kids in her class. What is privilege? A quick 35-question quiz to figure out your privilege score and then compare and contrast. To what ends, one might ask? That's a good question. You want to take it with me? Sure you do. All right, get out a pen and paper. I'll go slow. You want to find out your privilege score? Not everybody is fortunate enough to go to Deerfield High School. That should be the first question, and take a privilege quiz. The first question instead is, if your parents work nights and weekends to support your family. If you answered no, add a 1 to your privilege score. If you answered yes, subtract a 1. Number 2, if you're able to move through the world without fear of sexual assault. Well, you know what that is. All men are privileged and all women are not. That's just the male-female privilege question, right? Number 3, did you add a 1? Did you subtract a 1? Let's go. Keep up. If you can show affection for your romantic partner in public without fear of ridicule or violence. Of course, that's the LGBTQIA2S+++++++++++ privilege question. Or perhaps better put, the heterosexual privilege question. How you doing so far? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Number 4, if you've ever been diagnosed as having a physical or mental illness / disability. -1 if you have, and +1 if you haven't. Number 5, if the primary language spoken in your household growing up was English. Number 6, if you came from a supportive family environment. It's a bit subjective, but sure, why not? This is all made up anyway. Number 7, if you've ever tried to change your speech or mannerisms to gain credibility. If you've ever tried to change your speech or mannerisms to gain credibility. So like when Gavin Newsom tries to be street on a podcast with a couple of former NBAers, that would mean that he'd have to have a +1, right? Do I have this right, Ms. Shaw? He would have to add a +1 because he's a honky trying to be black guy saying to 2 other black guys, I know what it's like to grow up in the hood and have to learn the game of basketball as my ticket out. Is that what you mean? Number 8, if you can go anywhere in the country and easily find the kinds of hair products you need and or cosmetics that match your skin color. Number 9, if you were embarrassed about your clothes or house while growing up. Number 10, if you can make mistakes and not have people attribute your behavior to flaws in your racial or gender group. Number 11, if you can legally marry the person you love, regardless of where you live. Privilege. Born in the U.S., number 12. If you or your parents have ever gone through a divorce. If you have gone through a divorce? What? Oh, you mean my parents got divorced, so their parents got divorced. I see. Mm-hmm. If you felt like you had adequate access to healthy food growing up. Yeah, I want to hear the stories of great struggle in Deerfield. But, okay, sure. If you are reasonably sure you would be hired for a job based on your ability and qualifications. Oh, rather than just based on being white. I got hired for this job because I was white, and I didn't get hired from this job because I wasn't white. Because that's what it's like in America, you know. Number 16, if you would never think twice about calling the police when trouble occurs. Because you can't trust the police because of my lived experience in Deerfield. Come on, man. Number 17, if you can see a doctor whenever you feel the need. Number 18, if you feel comfortable being emotionally expressive and open. Number 19, if you have ever been the only person of your race, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation in a classroom or workplace setting. Number 20, if you took out or will have to take out loans for your education. Well, that's a problem because that could fold in some honkies who are otherwise privileged. Number 21, if you get time off for your religious holidays. Really? See, up in Deerfield, I mean, it's, a significant Jewish population, but there's so many self-flagellating leftist Jewish people up there that they're happy to apologize for their perceived privilege. Self-imposed, actually. If you had a job during your high school and college years. Number 23, if you feel comfortable walking home alone at night in Deerfield, right? Number 24, if you've ever traveled outside the United States. Has everybody dropped off taking this quiz? You're not interested? I mean, at least, it's sort of a throwback. It's like going back to high school again. This is what it's like. Not the freaks and geeks environment that in which most of us matriculated, is it? 25, if you ever felt like there was not adequate or accurate representation of your racial group, sexual orientation group, gender group, and or disability group in the media. In the media. Mm-hmm. Yeah. These days, a lot of honkies could get the plus 1 point for not privilege. Have you seen commercials these days? Casting for TV shows and movies. Number 26, if you feel confident that your parents would be able to financially help support you if you were going through a financial hardship. Number 27, if you had ever been bullied or made fun of based on something that you can't change. 28, yeah, we're doing the whole quiz. I want to hear the scores. If there were more than 50 books in your house growing up, 50. That's such an interesting threshold question for supposed privilege because, with things like libraries and the cost of used books, anything hardcover or softcover at this point, you could not be of particularly great means and still be a voracious reader and have lots of books in the home for the kids and so forth, or online for that matter. But okay. I mean, part of this whole privileged, not privileged absurdity is, of course, rank stereotyping. And that's what these questions, they mean... I was going to say are designed to do, and then I hedge, but no, that is what they are designed to do. They're just because they're designed to categorize people that have certain non-behavioral characteristics as, by definition, not privileged versus those who are privileged, but not based on behavior or aptitude or work ethic or anything other than your identity, which is what the identitarians have done. We've talked about this ad nauseum for years and years and years, and we will continue to, because it is such intellectual poison, and it is disintegrating America's K through 12 school systems to the extent that anybody can even read this quiz anymore, and are tearing at the fabric of our larger society. So this is, all fun and games until, the balkanization leads to a place you never thought it would lead. You're a victim, you're an oppressor. Just a 35-question way to get to the same tired dichotomy that the left presents. You're in this category, that category. That's it. Number 29, if you study the culture or the history of your ancestors in elementary school. Number 30, if your parents or guardians attended college. Number 31, if you ever went on a family vacation. 32, if you can buy new clothes or go out to dinner when you want to. 33, if you were ever offered your job because of your association with a friend or family member. 34, if one of your parents was ever laid off or unemployed, not by choice. Oh, so my dad, who made $500,000 at Goldman Sachs, gets laid off. So I'm no longer privileged. Is that it? I wasn't talking about my dad. It was a hypothetical. Number 35, if you were ever uncomfortable about a joke or a statement you overheard related to your race, ethnicity, gender, appearance, or sexual orientation, but felt unsafe to confront the situation. All right, that's it. 35. Tally them up. I want to hear the scores. Tally the pluses, tally the minuses, and then let's have a little discussion. What did you notice about your own privilege? What surprised you? What stood out to you as the most from our class discussion? How does this impact your perception of privilege? How does it impact your perception of your own privilege? Should we even be using these terms like privilege and unprivileged or underprivileged? Is this whole privilege construct complete silliness? Is it all a big academic fraud? Ms. Shaw, can we discuss that? I have that question. Can we discuss that? Scott in Frankfurt, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan. Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I got 2 points. The first one I wanted to bring up is I think, because we can't see that test, you're looking at it, that test might be quite flawed because I am privileged AF myself. And if some of those questions kept deducting points off my privilege score, so unless they're reversed, yes is actually a minus, or a yes is actually a minus instead of a plus. Some of those questions started reversing my score. I started getting quite disappointed I wasn't more privileged. Yeah.
Well, I understand. That's why I said there's some where, thanks for the call, Scott, some like male heterosexual honkies could get some not privileged points. But the good news is that whatever the not privileged points you're able to accumulate, for the most part, they will pale in comparison because so many of the questions are sort of race and sexual or sexual gender identity oriented in nature. So that's where you really pile up the points. Race, race, sex, and gender oriented. Yes. But sure, you could have a honky or two slip into the unprivileged category. And they would say, well, that just shows that this is not about those things. It's just about general privilege. It's a comprehensive assessment of whether or not you are above median privilege or below median privilege. And then what if I am? Then that's the other question, of course, is then, Ms. Shaw, what are we supposed to do about it? What are the above medians supposed to do for the below mediums exactly? Be specific. Jan in Elmhurst.
Hi. I have no idea what a teal pumpkin is, but we've handed out nickels for years because the so-called food treats don't really have that much food in them. They're all a list of chemical ingredients, if you've ever read them. And all of my children would really behave badly when they ate all that crap after.
Jan, I guess that's fine if you're handing out coins. I don't know if any of the kids will know what they are anymore. But, with inflation, don't you think more than a nickel these days? Don't you think you have to at least index it to inflation?
We have to hand out multiple nickels these days.
There you go. All right. Very good.
Everybody doesn't get one. And so you can, do 3, 4, 5 pretty readily.
Very good. All right. Thanks for the call, Jan. That was in reference to the teal pumpkins I mentioned last hour. Teal pumpkins is the new virtue signaling for privileged, if I may borrow a word, privileged honkies in places like Hinsdale and Naperville who have nothing better to do than come up with this teal pumpkin idea. It's supposed to indicate inclusivity by suggesting this house has non-food treats for kids who have allergies. Yeah. By the way, I saw something last week, speaking of Maha, like peanut allergies are down like significantly among kids, like 43%, like cohort, 0 to 2 to previous 0 to 2 cohort. And it's because parents have gotten the word that it was a mistake to recommend not exposing your youngsters to peanuts. You should expose them to peanuts, and it will minimize the incidence of allergic reaction, and apparently that's actually happening. Anyway, teal pumpkins, but I think there's more to the teal pumpkins than meets the eye. I'm not saying it's like an upside-down pineapple at the supermarket, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. But I'm saying I think there's more of a political message to the teal pumpkins than just the we have non-food treats. But perhaps that's my cynicism. Rick in Joliet.
Good morning, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. You just Frenched my mind because I had a really good point there, but the teal pumpkin thing blew me away. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you got to stay up to speed.
That's why I listen to the show, brother. I'm trying my level best. I got to tell you, I've seen this a lot. I'm 58 years old, so this kind of research or mental, whatever you want to call it, you know what I would call it, seems to be passing for deep thought now, and it seems to be perpetrated by people that cannot function in capitalism. It just really seems to be that this is their way of proving that they have some worth because they can't run their own lives. If you grew up in Joliet as I did in the 70s, this sounds like I landed on a Martian planet somewhere,
Yeah.
God bless you, man, because I don't know how you do it every single day. I'm just grateful that you do.
Thanks for the call, Rick. Appreciate it. No, that's right. That's exactly what this is. It's condition to you to not have agency, to not be responsible for your plight if things don't work out exactly how you wanted them to. Whatever disappointments you have in life are not attributed to anything you did or didn't do. It's all because you were underprivileged and you had to go against those that had above median privilege. And look, you've got the quiz from Miss Shaw's class to prove it. Matt's outside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Did you say something about the number of books or what they read?
If you had more or less than 50 books in your house, if you had more than 50, you were privileged. If you had less than 50, you were underprivileged.
Well, my parents always just read the Star, and they got lectured to by my grandma, who always said that was a waste of time. You couldn't believe it. You had to read the National Enquirer.
The debate rages.
I don't know what that says about me, but
and look at you now. You made it anyway.
There you go. Listening to 560 The Answer.
There you go. Thanks, Matt. Oh. You can overcome a household that debates between the Star and the Enquirer. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Hey, Dan. As a white heterosexual male with parents that worked and cared about me, I'm ashamed of myself.
You should be. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Jim in LaGrange.
Dan, as you've mentioned, Steve Martin and Navin Johnson from The Jerk earlier, I think that this was a rags to riches privilege test more than anything to see if you could actually escape from Deerfield because, Navin in the end invented the Optigrab and became a millionaire. So you can start out at Deerfield with nothing and end up, big.
But then not to spoiler alert, but I think if you haven't seen The Jerk now, that's on you. But then he lost it all, right, because of the class action lawsuit. Yeah, right, the cross-eyed problem.
By the way, Teal Pumpkins, who's at a cover band for, Dan?
Obviously, the Smashing Pumpkins.
Of course.
Thanks for the call, Jim. Killed with Rat in a Cage. Mike, Southwest Side.
Hey, Dan, I guess I did pretty good with my privilege because I come from a family that had an alcoholic father. I have two brothers and a sister, and they all wound up having to have hand-me-downs. I remember having government cheese in the house, and I was wondering, do coloring books count?
Do coloring books count for the 50?
Yeah.
Good question.
Because, my score is a 30, and, we grew up in a trailer, but it seems like, everyone in my family is very successful, and I think this privilege is nothing but a bunch of crap. You can either sit and wallow in it, or you can go to work and make something of yourself.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Well said. Text from Dave from Geneva, 630. Do Playboys count? Because if they against the 50 book minimum. Because if they do, then I grew up a Pritzker. Very good, Dave. Coming up at 6:36, we'll talk Scott the Cow Guy. We'll talk inflation, among other things, with Scott the Cow Guy. Shelody, get used to 3% inflation, I think, is the building consensus. That's not good news. Scott the Cow Guy at 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A woman was found shot to death on Chicago's southeast side yesterday morning. The unidentified victim was found with 2 gunshot wounds to her head in the 11,000 block of South Mackinac Avenue. There are no suspects at this time, and the investigation is continuing. An 18-year-old student who was reported missing when she failed to turn up to a swim meet last week has been found. A prayer vigil was held last Thursday evening with friends, family, and community members praying for the safe return of Estefania Herrera. A Facebook post on her school site thanked everyone for the prayers as they had been answered. There's no word on where Herrera was while she was missing. As the federal government shutdown continues, new concerns over food insecurity grow. Nearly 2 million people in our state rely on SNAP benefits to purchase food. According to the Illinois Department of Human Services, the situation is fluid and they'll continue to post updates as the November 1st deadline approaches. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt pleads to the Democrats.
Tens of thousands of federal workers will be laid off and they will not be rehired if the Chuck Schumer shutdown continues. So if I were a government union representative, I would be on the phone to Senator Schumer, ask him to make his remarks brief, to the point, and reopen the government.
The Hugh Hewitt Show, afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me take a moment to talk about my friends at QC Kinetics. They're helping so many listeners regain their mobility free from joint pain. Does this sound like you? Where every time you move, it's a reminder of what hurts? A reminder of how far you've drifted from the life you once had? Well, relief is closer than you think, and it doesn't have to come from surgery. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team tap into your body's own regenerative power using natural healing factors that help restore and repair damaged tissue, reduce inflammation, and relieve pain at its source. Stop masking the pain. Let QC Kinetics help you regain what pain took away. And this Veterans Day, QC Kinetics is giving back to our heroes. Veterans will get $500 off their treatment. And for every non-veteran who starts care, QC Kinetics will donate $500 to the Wounded Warrior Project. It's a great time to book your free consultation to learn how QC Kinetics can help. Call 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, that phone number, 312-827-6261, and tell them I sent you when you call.
When age-related health issues arise, don't just treat the body, treat the soul. For over 130 years, Lutheran Life has provided nonprofit, Christ-centered care for seniors. Arlington Heights, Ottawa, Bloomington, and Crown Point. 4 Lutheran Life communities to serve all your needs for assisted living, memory care, nursing, and rehab. Find out how by visiting LutheranLifeCommunities.org today. That's LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
Is war in the Middle East the revival of an ancient conflict recorded in the Bible?
The nation of Israel is a resurrected nation. So what if there was going to be a resurrection of another people, an enemy people of Israel?
Dinesh D'Souza's new film, The Dragon's Prophecy, offers new understanding of October 7th, Israel, and radical Islam.
We came back to a land that was largely barren and empty, and we brought it back to life, and we're going to keep it.
Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TruePowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
A voice for the new right, charting a new path forward for American conservatism. It's the Josh Hammer Show.
What is the alternative to engaging with your political opponents? To hearing out their criticism in as happy warrior-like fashion as you can have it. The day that we replace that with, God forbid, with violence, that's how republics die. There is nothing good down that road.
The Josh Hammer Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix and boom, you're missing a part. It's okay, because whatever it is, it's on eBay, and it's guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. All right, we've got building traffic on the expressways this morning. On the Eden, starting off, no delays, and about a 14-minute ride from Lake Cook to Montrose this morning. Brake lights starting to build up on the Kennedy outbound between Cumberland and I-90, so watch there. An accident on that right shoulder right there at inbound Ike between Canal and the Old Post Office, about a 3-minute delay. If you're cruising on the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to DeSable Lakeshore, about a 20-minute drive. There's a 2-minute backup if you're inbound Stevenson between Ashland and Dan Ryan. Let's talk about the Dan Ryan. An earlier accident had the local lanes inbound between 35th and 18th backed up. And finally, on the train, CTA Red Line has some delays. An earlier door problem near Addison has some backups on the Howard-bound Red Line train, so watch for that. This report is sponsored by Macy's Backstage. Macy's Backstage is a whole department inside your Macy's store where you can find the latest fall looks, all for under $30. With new arrivals every day, you never know what amazing deals you'll find. Don't wait. Find a location at Macy'sBackstage.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now checking on that forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny and becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow is forecasted to be mostly cloudy and breezy with a high of 57. Wednesday will be cloudy and windy with a chance of a shower in the area. The high temperature will reach 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was making the rounds on the Sunday talkies to preview this week's meeting between President Trump and dictator Xi. They're meeting in South Korea. to talk trade. And Bessent suggests that through, his level of communication with the Chinese communists, there's been a cooling off from some of the heat generated over export controls on rare earths and the threats to retaliate accordingly. He had this to say on Meet the Press, previewing Thursday's sit-down.
President Trump gave me a great deal of negotiating leverage with the threat of the 100% tariffs on November 1st, and I believe we've reached a very substantial framework that will avoid that and allow us to discuss many other things with the Chinese. I think we will be able to discuss them helping us get this terrible fentanyl crisis under control. I think we are going to be able to discuss substantial soybean and ag purchases for our American farmers. I think we are going to be able to discuss more balanced trade. And I'm not going to get ahead of the two leaders, but I think that they will also be discussing President Trump's global peace plan that he's been so successful at, both here in Asia, the Middle East, and now he's looking to Ukraine, Russia.
Yeah, I think that's all, very much keeping up appearances type rhetoric, but I think it belies the reality. I don't think you're going to see President Trump coming out of the meeting with Xi doing the Trump dance like he was per his reception in Malaysia over the weekend. Don't think so. By the way, why does Scott Bessent always look like he's looking directly into the sun when he's just sort of, I don't know, it just sort of hit me over the weekend. Anyway, Bessent on Face the Nation also suggesting that a deal, including the details of a deal to allow TikTok to operate in the United States under, one would assume, non-Chi-Com ownership. Maybe Kevin O'Leary is about to step in. Those details have been agreed upon.
We reached a final deal on TikTok. We'd reached one in Madrid, and I believe that as of today, all the details are ironed out, and that will be for the two leaders to consummate that transaction on Thursday in Korea.
Two heads of state consummating a private sector transaction about over a social media company. If you have a bit of a queasy feeling about that, like me, then your instincts are good. For more on all of this, including 3% inflation in perpetuity, Scott the Cow Guy Shellady joins us. There it is. Market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1 p.m. Also the host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Are you excited for the Trump-Xi sit-down on Thursday?
I'm not as excited as the market is, and I'm not as excited as Mr. Bessent is. I tend to judge the Chinese by their actions, not by their words. And for the last 10 to 15 years, they've been investing billions of dollars in South America to move their soybean purchases out of the U.S. to South America, and they've done so already. And they've got massive ports, massive infrastructure. They're going to purchase their soybeans from South America. If they purchase any beans from the U.S., it's because they have to, or there's been some sort of problem with the production in South America. Now, there may be some ceremonial purchases that comes out of this deal, but you have to remind yourselves that we had 3 Chinese nationals get caught coming into this country this summer with biohazards that were there to kill our wheat and corn crops. That's something that I think is terribly offensive. And then on top of that, the last time we got together face-to-face with them, I don't know, 6-7 weeks ago, maybe it was Geneva, I'm not quite sure. But while we were there face-to-face, they pulled their sorghum business from the U.S. and moved it all to South America. So I don't believe a word these people say. It'll be nice to see some agreement. I guess the market thinks it's going to be great, but I think the proof is in the pudding. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I'm glad that there's a framework, a quote unquote framework. That doesn't mean, like you said, they're going to agree on anything, but they don't have the America's best interest in mind. They treat us like an enemy, and we try to treat them like they're going to be our friends, and it's frustrating to me. Yeah,
I mean, now with respect to South America, our new friends in Argentina, Milei and his party, which saw success in yesterday's elections, that could put a crimp in China's purchases of those ag products from South America, because Argentina was one of those target markets, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Argentina just dropped tariffs on a lot of their exports and let China fill up basically all their needs up until January in about 2 or 3 days of purchases of 40 or 45, cargo loads. So,
well, I know, but I mean, just in terms of looking ahead, I mean, that's certainly not going unbeknownst to Bessent and Trump. And so at some point, if they want this $20 billion liquidity swap, then, you're going to have to play ball with us, with China. I presume that's the message that's going to be sent to Milei.
100%, I agree. And I also agree with backing Argentina to try to keep from doing all their dirty work down in South America. I'm behind that idea altogether, because in our business it's been happening for 10 to 15, maybe even longer years, and we can see what they've been up to. So if we can stall or try to, and that's also what he's probably going around Asia right now, trying to do deals with everybody around China as well. So he needs to start playing a little bit of a stratego, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about inflation, because, the burgeoning consensus is that that 2% target the Fed had for the last couple of years is not something they're actually that particularly interested in, and get used to 3%. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but 3% inflation year over year means that unless you're getting a 3%, even if you're getting a sort of a 3% COLA bump in your take home pay every year, all you're doing is holding serve. You're not getting ahead. And most people aren't, unless you're, a member of the teachers union, are not seeing necessarily wage increases at that rate.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I think they're going to let inflation run hotter than that. I mean, inflation month over month is still getting hotter. I don't care what anybody says. And if the market celebrates what they quote unquote say is a benign inflation report, because it comes in at or maybe a little bit lower than they were expecting, but the expectations were higher than last month's. If you go back the last 4 or 5 months, that's absolutely been the case. That's my first point. And my second point is that given the chance to let the economy run a little hot versus run a little cool, the Fed will always err on they'll always err on the side of letting inflation go a little bit, because they feel like they've got way more tools to handle inflation than they do deflation, because deflation is a psychological issue, is not as much as a fiscal issue. And number three is, we went through $37 trillion in our national debt in August, and we went through $38 trillion last week. I mean, that's an historically fast pace to go through $1 trillion. We have a debt problem, and we're going to have to inflate our way out. And then you inflate your way out by letting inflation go. So I think we're looking at 3 to 3.5 here, and that's going to be the case. And maybe, God forbid, we get a little bit more than that. But the Fed, this 2% target, nobody knows where it came from. It's kind of like this, the social distancing and 6-foot rule. Nobody knows where that came from either. So 2% is just a pipe dream. That's not going to happen. We're going to have to live with 3 to 3.5. And by the way, the market, the stock market, your 401k can handle that. I think we had 3% inflation on average over through the 90s. But it's just going to be something that's going to be here to stay. And I think that the Fed's going to have to come out at some point in time and just give up the ghost and say we're going to try to keep it closer to 3 than anything else.
Right. I mean, that it's like the markets only, something Jim Urio, our friend Jim Urio, he says, like, the markets only hate inflation if they believe the Fed is going to fight it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly
If the Fed is going to lay down, then they're fine with it.
Yes. And so, it's... I've said for a long time, and the market would love it if they said 3% is their new target, by the way. I think that the Fed's going to have to give up that 2% pipe dream. It's not going to, I mean, remember, it was only about 6 or 7 years ago we were begging for inflation. We were at 1.5, 1.4, looking for something, to get us up to 2%. But now with this cat out of the bag and the amount of money that the government spent, our debts and deficits, the dollar debasement trade, nobody trusts us anymore. I mean, it's an absolute cluster, if you know what I mean. And so I don't think we're going to be able to put that genie back in the bottle anytime soon.
Okay, so I mean, just to play this out, so like what you said, that we need to inflate our way out of the debt to some extent to keep the plate spinning. It needs to be run at 2.8, 3%, something like that. So what are the potential downsides to doing that? What if the calibrations are just a little bit off?
It's because that when inflation gets out of control very fast. That's the problem. And so, they don't want to have, and that also drives a wedge between the rich and the poor. The rich always benefit from inflation, or they benefit both ways, by the way, and the poor do not. And we've seen that. I mean, look, we can't lose our middle class. I think that's the biggest risk, man. If we lose the middle class, the whole thing falls in on itself, and we really don't have an economy. I know that's a little bit hyperbolic, but you need to make sure that the middle class is healthy. And the middle class doesn't have a ton of equities ownership, and they don't have a ton of real estate ownership, which means basically they've missed out on what this inflationary environment's done over the last 6 years. So they haven't really gotten they haven't gotten further, and arguably they've gotten behind because of inflation.
Well,
we need to make sure. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I would just want to sort of back up that point about losing the middle of your economy. So that's largely what's happened in big city America. I mean, the greatest income disparity in one city is San Francisco. With despite all of their progressive bon mots, and Chicago and New York, and when you talk about livability, you're talking about people that are doing okay. They're gainfully employed. They're playing by the rules. They're making, certainly in New York, they're making six figures, but they're falling behind if they're not making mid six figures. And so what you've seen is people insulated from terrible public policy because of their wealth, and people are the beneficiaries of transfer payments and not much in between. And if you want if you want to scale that, if you want to look at what a microcosm of that presents, then look at San Francisco, New York, Chicago, and then scale that nationally. And what do you got?
Right. You've got a bunch of people at the top that are benefiting from the policies, and 70% of the people below that are not benefiting at all and actually are falling behind, and you fall in on yourself because we need the middle class, because the people in the middle class, they do stuff. They build stuff. They're the backbone of America. And if we don't have that, we can't have everybody on welfare and everybody be rich at the same time. It's just that it doesn't work out.
Speaking of New York, Mamdani, I saw some survey. 1 in 4 New Yorkers will consider moving out if Mamdani wins. I mean, that's probably a bit inflated, to borrow a word, but I'm sure those with real mobility and maybe not ties to New York City the way they once did will certainly change their residency, even if they keep a pied a terre there. But one of the other questions, this is something Steve Moore has been predicting ever since the threat of a Mamdani mayoralty became real, that Wall Street will move. What is effectively, quote unquote, Wall Street will wind up in Charlotte or Austin or somewhere. Do you agree with that prediction? And even if it did come to pass, does it matter?
Yes, I agree with the prediction. I'm not sure about whether or not, how much it matters. I mean, it just goes to show you, I think it goes to show you that the political leaders have absolutely no business acumen at all whatsoever. And I can stretch that from both New York into Chicago. I mean, they don't understand that these exchanges, technically speaking, are a bunch of servers in a closet, probably outside of New York and outside of Chicago. I know they're outside of Chicago and Aurora. And so what they don't understand is that server room can be put on one truck and moved anywhere. And we've already got exchanges. MIAX, the MIAX, that's opened up in Miami. We've seen another stock exchange opening up now in Texas. And then to think that they can somehow tax these people or rely on some sort of financial tax it's asinine. They have no idea about any business, because they will pick up, and they literally could move the New York Stock Exchange, I believe, over a weekend, right? And how about the $21 a head tax that your mayor in Chicago? I mean, they're just not going to have anybody in Chicago. That's great. I mean, I can't believe that they're that ignorant, that they don't understand business well enough to think that is not going to fly at all whatsoever. It's because they don't understand technology and how these things are working anymore. They really don't. They think that people have to go into the office. It's so dumb. I can't believe it. So, yeah, we already have exchanges moving. We have exchanges popping up in Miami and in Texas. Like I said, I think you could move the CME in Chicago and the New York Stock Exchange from Friday night to Monday morning open into another city, no problem.
I see what you did there. Oh, our mayor. Okay, Glen Ellen boy. Now he's our mayor. Now he's not your problem anymore. Okay, I see what you did there. All right. Go ahead.
I was also going to say, another interesting, you could probably do another segment on this. I don't need to do it right now, but, for the last, 35, 40 years of my career, Dan, I've been going to cocktail parties all over the world, Asia, Europe, and America, trying to make sure that people knew that our futures and options business, our stock exchanges, our bond business, there was an important economic function that was taking place on those floors and on those screens all over the world. We were setting the price for interest rates and food and everything else. And now we've got the CME Group getting in bed with FanDuel. We've got the New York Stock Exchange getting in bed with the predictive market, Polymarket. And now Kalshi has done a big deal with the NHL. I don't know what's going on, but speculation fever is starting to grip our businesses, and now it's moving into legacy exchanges, and I don't like it at all, one bit.
What? And you don't like it because?
Because they're getting in bed, they're getting in the gambling bed because they see 150 billion gambled every year legally. And that's just legally in the U.S., and that's up 24% from 2023. I mean, they're going to at the CME Group. You're going to be allowed to bet on the non-farm jobs payroll number as well as sports. I mean, to me, that's just that's a slippery slope. That's all. Maybe I'm a little bit of an old fuddy-duddy, but I think that's a slippery slope.
Yeah, no, it's a good point that you raised. Very interesting. And with respect to the markets, too, I mean, just because the nature of us talking even 10 years ago about the prospect of the exchanges pulling up stakes and moving to another state or even another country when things like the teachers unions were proposing their LaSalle Street tax and stuff. It's a little bit different now technologically, and I just wonder what the domino effect would be. Do you still see the exchanges pulling out of Chicago or Wall Street, effectively the New York Stock Exchange pulling out of New York? I mean, do the insurance businesses and accounting firms and law firms that located around those financial centers go with them, or is it not as linked as it once was?
I don't know. I don't think they go with that. Well, maybe a little bit with them, but I mean, I still talk to people in Chicago, LaSalle and Jackson, and because of that exchange going even just electronic, not even having a floor, has been devastating to the local businesses and restaurants and
for sure.
The little guys selling flour. I mean, so just the fact that we've changed the modus operandi of actually getting the business done has hurt the Loop in Chicago badly. Now you just take all those jobs of anybody that's even the legacy jobs that are still left behind and move them to another city. It'll be, and yes, insurance is going to get hurt. There's other, all the lawyers that are involved in those exchanges and the regulations and the SEC and the CFTC and the likes. I mean, these government leaders that think that these businesses can't get up and move, with a light switch, are crazy, and it's already starting to hurt. I mean, the Chicago's Loop is a ghost town compared to what it was before COVID and before those floors all closed. It's an absolute ghost town, and I know people that own businesses that have been absolutely decimated, and some of them had to leave. So it's not going to be any stretch of the imagination to think that they could go south to Miami or Texas or Tennessee or wherever, because, again, the technology will allow them to do that in a flip of a light switch.
Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1. Also host of the Cow Guy Close, 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thanks as always.
All right, brother. Have a great week.
You too. And Scott joins us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I can't believe how much better Dad's doing since we brought on Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest.
I know. He's more engaged, more himself. It makes such a difference having him right here at home. Around the photos, his old record player, his favorite recliner, all the little things he knows. That familiarity really matters with dementia.
And their caregivers, they're just incredible. They treat him with so much patience and respect.
Plus, they helped us tap into a Medicare program that offers 80 hours of respite care for Alzheimer's and dementia.
We're not worried anymore, and Dad gets to stay where he's happiest, at home.
Trust the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Serving Cook, DuPage, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. They have no hourly minimums, and you can call them 24/7 at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care only better.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom!
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom!
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom. Crosscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Crosscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Crosscom.
Crosscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Crosscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high-quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you'll destroy your life. Listen to The Flot Line with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7. The Flot Line describes a main line of resistance in your soul built on God's Word. Listen this Sunday for inspiration, motivation, education, all without manipulation. That's The Flot Line with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7 on AM 560. The Answer. AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up at 7:07, Putin's flack, Sergei Lavrov, had some choice words in the direction of Zelensky in Ukraine. We'll talk about that and the geopolitics of President Trump's Asian stops with Stephen Bucci at 7:07. It's now 7 o'clock.
President Trump is in Japan. I'm Chris Foster of Fox News. It's the latest stop on his Asia trip, landing in Tokyo after a flight from Malaysia.
18,000 police officers have been activated and they are fanned out across Tokyo to protect President Trump and his delegation while they move around Japan. He has already been greeted by the Japanese emperor. Tomorrow, the president is going to have his first ever meeting with the new Japanese Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi. She is a former TV host who likes to play the drums, who President Trump already likes because she was very close politically to his friend, the late Shinzo Abe. There are reports here that she plans to gift President Trump one of Shinzo Abe's golf clubs and also a gold-leafed golf ball.
Fox's Peter Ducey in Tokyo. President Trump says bad fuel is believed to be the reason a Navy fighter jet and a helicopter both crashed into the South China Sea about a half hour apart after taking off from the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier. All crew members are reported to be safe and in stable condition. Day 27 of a federal government shutdown, and there's no indication anyone's giving in on spending demands.
Last week, the Senate again failed to advance a GOP bill to pay many government workers during this shutdown. The Senate is due back in session this afternoon. And last week, before they had adjourned, Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson said they would be working on another bill to get some employees paid.
That doesn't mean the discussions won't continue. So I talked to both Senator Van Hollen and Senator Peters. We'll get our staffs working on this and see if we can iron out differences, and maybe we can come to an agreement next week.
While the House is on a district work period, there are Senate hearings scheduled this week, including to consider nominations of trade, USDA, and Social Security officials, as well as the nomination of Vice Admiral Richard Correll to be the commander of U.S. Strategic Command. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Hurricane Melissa is a Category 5 storm now. It'd be the first on record to make landfall in Jamaica if it stays that intense. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 46 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keenan, the AM 560 newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker has announced the end of Chicago's Kennedy Expressway rehabilitation project 1 month early. Pritzker thanked the union workers for their collaboration, which aided in the work's early completion. Illinois Transportation Secretary Gia Biaggi noted that the project started in 2023. The rehab work used $169 million from taxpayers through the Rebuild Illinois Capital Program. The project caused major congestion and resulted in much longer travel times for commuters. Police in Chicago have announced the arrest of a man in connection with an armed home invasion. 46-year-old Keith Finley has been charged with felony counts of home invasion with a firearm, home invasion causing injury, and aggravated criminal sexual assault. A federal judge has ruled the detention of a Chicago man by immigration authorities is illegal. The ruling states that Ruben Torres Maldonado, whose 16-year-old daughter has a rare and advanced form of cancer, must get a bond hearing by the 31st. 1st. Torres was detained October 18th, and his attorneys are seeking his release. And 2 Chicago suburbs have been named among the safest cities in the U.S. for trick-or-treating. SafeHome.org named Joliet and Naperville among the safest for trick-or-treaters. Naperville was ranked number 2 overall, cited for having one of the lowest violent crime rates per capita, a very low number of registered sex offenders, and minimal pedestrian fatalities. Joliet rounded out the top 25. The city ranked 161 cities according to their relative safety to children and families who participated in Halloween night trick-or-treating. Topping the list was Yonkers, New York. New York City placed 3rd. Now the top 3 least safest cities were Memphis, Richmond, Virginia, and Little Rock, Arkansas. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you can save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Breakthrough Ideas, and by attorney Stephen A. Leahy at Opum Tax Advocates.
As the seasons change, so does the worry. The flu, cold, and COVID season is coming, making a lot of people feel anxious. But what if you don't have to feel that way? My name is Dr. Michael Huber, one of the developers of Virago, the liquid immune enhancement cocktail. Virago was formulated in a liquid to enhance absorption and provide a rapid response. Comprised of 23 natural ingredients chosen for their synergistic properties, it gives your immune system the boost it needs to fight whatever virus is out there. So with the Virago Boost, you can face the coming flu season feeling confident that you are protected. With Virago, you're not fighting the seasons, you're ready for them. Virago, power to defend. Maha starts with Virago.
Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. That's myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Feel that chill in the air? Now's the perfect time to layer up. The outerwear shop is now open at Untuckit with sharp new jackets and vests made for this season and beyond. You'll find all the right layers to keep you warm and looking sharp, including cozy sweaters, sweatshirts, and more. But hurry, fall weather won't wait, and neither should you. So don't miss the outerwear shop, open now at Untuckit.com in more than 80 stores worldwide. Untuckit, shirts designed to be worn, untucked.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say Micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed tax professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Every day, penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, people hitting the roads, traffic starting to build. Looking good in the Edens, no issues there. Looking good on the Kennedys, inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange, about a 26-minute ride. There's about an 8-minute backup if you're on the Kennedy outbound from the Byrne interchange to O'Hare. Plenty of brake lights in the Stevenson inbound between Harlem and Western Avenue, about a 12-minute backup. 10-minute delay on Stevenson outbound from DuSable Lakeshore to the Tri-State. An earlier accident still causing issues on the Dan Ryan outbound between Roosevelt and 18th Street. The Ike is cooking. Stop-and-go traffic, 10-minute backup if you're inbound between St. Charles and Tri-State Tollway. The Bishop Ford looking good, and DuSable Lakeshore. Watch for stacked traffic if you're northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. Traffic, a service of Air Right Heating and Cooling, offering AM 560 listeners $56 off any service, including inspections, or take advantage of their limited-time federal rebates on a new furnace. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out that QC Kinetics weather forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny, becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow is forecasted to be mostly cloudy and breezy with a high of 57. Wednesday will be cloudy and windy with a chance of a shower in the area. The high temperature will reach 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Adding to their desire to protect people in this country legally who've committed violent crimes, and just in this country legally, but it certainly includes those who may be gang affiliated, think Maryland Man, and may have even committed violent crimes. Adding to that list, where they operate in the gray zone, the gray area that Douglas Murray wrote about, not condoning violence, but not condemning it. Add narco-traffickers to the list. After Trump and Rubio's pronouncements about the military strikes against narco-traffickers that have been posted, identified TDA or cartel members trafficking in drugs and being taken out by American military. They were asked both about that last week, and here's what Secretary of State Marco Rubio had to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question is, bottom line, these are drug boats. If people want to stop seeing drug boats blow up, stop sending drugs to the United States.
But does it matter if it's in the United States?
Well, these are all in international waters.
The boat do a strike in the United States, or if North America?
Well, that's a different matter. Now you're talking about a law enforcement matter. In this particular case, there are people traveling on international waters headed towards the United States with hostilities in mind, which includes flooding our country with dangerous, deadly drugs, and they're going to be stopped. And that's what's happening. And in the case last week, you saw there was a submarine. It was a submarine. It was a submersible. That's a drug boat all the way through. We know what these boats are. The president just said it. We tracked them from the very beginning. We know who's on them, who they are, where they're coming from, what they have on them. If you're running drug boats, you're in grave danger.
So there's some of the technical details, and here's the general philosophy, the back and forth that Trump had with Phil Wegman from Real Clear Politics last week.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
A moment ago, you said that if Secretary Hegseth went to Congress and briefed them on the operation,
no, we will go. I said
you will go, and
we
it would
will
be
go.
difficult for them to object.
I don't see any loss in going. No reason not to. They'll always complain. Oh, we should have gone. So we're going to definitely. I'd like to just tell you, let's go. We'll go.
And Mr.
We're going to
President,
tell them what we're going to do, and I think they're going to probably like it, except for the radical left lunatics.
And Mr. President, if you are declaring war against these cartels, and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. They're going to be like dead. Okay? Yeah.
Like dead. Okay, I got it. For more on this topic and several others, we're pleased to be joined by Stephen Bucci for our weekly conversation. Stephen is a served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, we're going to kill them like dead so long as they're in international waters because we've got the drop on them and they're a designated terrorist group, and that's that. Stephen? Do we have Stephen?
I'm back.
Oh, there we go. So what say you to what Trump and Rubio had to say last week?
Well, first, the idea of a declaration of war, we haven't done a declaration of war in a long time. But what we do more frequently now is a thing called an authorization for the use of force, an AUF. And it's the president going to Congress, briefing them, letting them know what he plans to do, letting them know the parameters of it, and then doing it. Right now, we're in the period, there's a grace period that goes with the War Powers Act, that a president can take military action for up to a certain number of days in emergency situations without getting that authorization of the use of force. And then by the end of that period, you're supposed to either get one or, decide the operation's done. That process is ongoing. I think it's something we should do. It gives a complete legal authorization for this use without any question, even as the president lovingly calls them, the lunatic left can't argue with that. If Congress gives him that authorization for the use of force, then there's no question. It's legal, it's legitimate, and they can do it. It is appropriate against a terrorist organization. That's what we had against Al-Qaeda. We included ISIS under that since ISIS had come out of Al-Qaeda. This would be a new one, and I think that's needful. As far as the efficacy of doing it, of taking out those drug boats, it makes perfect sense. I mean, these are not cabin cruisers or, repurposed, pleasure boats. They are boats built specifically to elude our surface vessels, radar, all that kind of stuff. And we can now, with the observation and surveillance capabilities we have, we can find them, we can follow them out into international waters, and we can remove them. Seems like a no-brainer to me.
Daniel Hannan, former British MP, writing about this in The Guardian. Restoring democracy to Venezuela would be in the interest of every country except Russia, Cuba, and Nicaragua. If even half the emigres return home, Venezuela would boom. For those emigres represent the most entrepreneurial portion of the population. Oil would flow again, bringing down prices globally. And no less important, the decade-long march of autocracy across the globe would suffer an important regional reverse. Why is this any of America's responsibility? Theodore Roosevelt answered the question in 1904 in response, appropriate enough, to a debt crisis in Venezuela, which had triggered European intervention, saying, quote, chronic wrongdoing or an impotence which results in a general loosening of the ties of civilized society may ultimately require intervention by some civilized nation, and in the Western Hemisphere, the adherents of the United States to the Monroe Doctrine may force the United States, however reluctant, in flagrant cases of wrongdoing or impotence, to the exercise of an international police power. That was Teddy Roosevelt. In other words, writes Hannan, when a country in the Americas falls into such a disastrous condition that the entire region is feeling the effects, it falls to the U.S. to act as the adult. Is that a fair summation of what you think the Trump outlook is?
I think it is. And it's not just because we're trying to be altruistic to the benefits for the rest of the world. Those benefits that MP mentioned are specifically applicable to us. Venezuela is one of the nexus points of the drug importation system, the worst kind of drugs. The Tren de Aragua cartel members are pretty horrific. The ones that came here were instantaneously involved in all sorts of crimes, so they have a beachhead here. We need to remove them. They are sheltered by
Did we lose Stephen?
I'm back.
Oh, back?
Yep.
No? Oh, okay.
This would benefit America tremendously. It would also have a lot of splashover benefits to the rest of the world and to the people of Venezuela. So yes, I think he's spot on.
Tom Nichols, he of The Atlantic and MSNBC, he knows what's really going on here, Stephen, and this is what's really going on. This is a setup not for regional stability and prosperity in Venezuela, but something much more nefarious.
The American president has said, I can point the U.S. military any place I want and kill anyone I want. That eventually is going to become a principle in the domestic use of the military.
Yes.
He is acclimating people to the notion that the military is his private army, unconstrained by law, unconstrained by norms, unconstrained by American traditions. And that, I don't really think this has anything to do with drugs. I mean, sometimes I wonder how far he's going to go to stop the release of the Epstein files and how many distractions he's going to throw at us. But this is about getting out from under his already dismal record, his record low approval ratings, his struggling with a scandal, and he is now saying, I am going to acclimate the American public to the use of military force anywhere I deem it appropriate under any circumstances. And I may well, the president may be thinking, I may well have us in a war by the time the elections roll around, which will enable me to say any opposition to me and my party is basically treason and unpatriotic.
Well, I mean, just a point of order, his allegedly record low approval ratings are higher than Obama's at this point in his second term. But okay. Anyway, the idea that this is all one big wag the dog for Trump to use as his private military to start a war and force, a folding in the interests of patriotism to whatever he is doing with the military.
That was one of the most amazing works of fiction I've ever heard. And was that on The View or someplace like that? Because somebody was cheerleading for him as he was speaking.
MSNBC. So basically the same thing.
It's just, that is nonsense. There is absolutely no evidence of that. That is pure 100% fanciful speculation. Oh, and by the way, it sort of, is a way of attacking the man that they can't figure out how to defeat. And how to stop from doing these things they don't like fighting crime in our cities and getting rid of illegal aliens. Look, just because you don't like a man doesn't mean what he's doing is treason or violates the Constitution or anything else. Trump has not done anything, has not overturned any laws, has not, violated the rights of our citizens in any way, shape, or form other than in the fevered minds of MSNBC and CNN and all the other loonies. So, I love it when they sound so authoritative, and it's complete hogwash, and that's what that was.
Moving over to Eastern Europe, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte had this to say last week about the prospect for peace in Eastern Europe, and it was very complimentary of Trump, basically saying he's the only one who gets this done.
Well, I have total confidence in President Trump, and he is the only one who can get this done. He is the leader of the most powerful nation on earth. You are all citizens of the most powerful nation on earth, the most powerful economy, the most powerful military, and you have a president with a lot of experience because of his first term in office, and who has a clear vision on bringing this war to a durable and lasting end. He wants that. He wants to end the bloodshed. He wants to end the killing. And he knows how important it is. And this is a big deal for him, for all of us. So his leadership here is crucial. He is clearly providing it. And he has to dialogue with all the leaders. He has to dialogue with Putin. He has to dialogue with Zelensky, exactly as he did in Gaza, putting pressure on all relevant parties to get the deal done. And that's exactly what he is doing here.
Well, it seems to me one party he's not putting enough pressure on is not Russia or Ukraine, but the EU. And the Secretary General is in a tough position there. But this data out recently from the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air finds the EU's purchase of Russian energy over the last 3 years, 17 billion euros worth of oil and oil products, and $42 billion worth of LNG and pipeline gas from Russia. And, China, Turkey, Japan, South Korea, there are others here purchasing LNG, purchasing oil, purchasing coal. But, I mean, that's the problem is, at the one hand, as we've talked about, they continue to call for peace and jawbone Putin. And at the other hand, they're major clients of Russia.
Yeah, that is the long in the tent right now is Europe needs energy, and they can't seem to stop themselves from turning to Putin to get it. Some of that is in a lack of assurance that the United States will provide that and then stay with them if the administrations change, because Obama and Biden, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to reel back all of America's energy exports, not crank it up. But I think that's what we have to do. America needs to step in. America needs to sell, not give, sell that energy to our allies in Europe so they can stop being dependent on Russia. And if we do that, we can actually pressure Russia to change. But short of bombing Russia, that's the big thing we have is the energy. But until we can show the Europeans that we're going to sell it to them faithfully and continually, they're going to be very nervous about it. And I understand that, but man, you can't have it both ways. You can't buy their energy and tell them to stop doing what they're doing because they got you over a barrel.
Pun intended. I mean, you're financing their war machine and then decrying what they're doing with their war machine. I mean, it's complicated. Sergei Lavrov, Putin's foreign policy flack, this week talking about sort of reintroducing the Budapest memorandum and the agreement that the Russians say the Ukraine violated from 30 years ago, and the idea of Putin and Trump meeting in Budapest. That's a bad location because it just brings back too many bad memories. It's too traumatic for Putin to meet again in Budapest. It's very sad. It's very sensitive. And just going on and on, basically saying the same things. Yes, we want a ceasefire, but we know a ceasefire is just Zelensky trying to buy time. Everybody knows this. So it just doesn't. I mean, it seems like that Trump's instincts were right, that Putin is not interested in being serious at this point, maybe because the money is still flowing from the EU. But how did you read Lavrov going out and sort of recycling these old arguments that they've been using since the outset of this invasion?
Well, they continue to work. They continue to hold people off. They make it look like they're trying to do something positive when it's clear they're not. So why change your shtick if it's working? And Lavrov, dictators and their buddies tend to be able to look you straight in the eye, tell you a complete fabrication, and not have any remorse or sort of cognitive dissonance. So they're going to keep working that. So I'm unsurprised by it because until we add some additional stick to this process against Russia and against Putin, they're going to keep lying diplomatically and going right ahead militarily because there's nothing to stop them.
Although, so the oil sanctions, the energy sanctions last week, not enough in your mind? Is that what I'm gathering?
Yeah, they're not enough, and because we haven't literally replaced.
Nope, Stephen.
I'm back.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Because we haven't literally replaced Russia's energy with our energy or somebody else's energy that's legitimate, they still have the upper hand. Not going to change until they are hurt, either militarily, which we don't want to do, or economically. And that the energy is where we have to go. That's the button we need to sufficiently push. And no, what we've done thus far is not enough yet.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as Army Special Forces officer, top Pentagon official. Now a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies. Stephen, thank you as always.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next week.
And Stephen joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Let me tell you about a proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer, Access One IT Services and Support. Chicago business owners, listen up. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. But when it doesn't, who are you calling? An overseas help desk? Don't do that. If you want clear, reliable, local experts, consider Chicago's best, Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 40 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One has you covered. Access One is Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serves thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. So if you're in business, make sure your IT works well every day. Start a conversation about your business needs today by calling Access One at 1-800-654-1555. That's 1-800-654-1555. Or you can visit them online at access1inc.com. That's Access One, the number spelled out, O-N-E, access1inc.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you when you do.
When the power goes out, life stops. Heat, AC, fridge, phones, all gone. But with a Generac home standby generator from True Power Generator Service, your home powers back on automatically, so you're never left in the dark. Book your consultation today at TruePowerGenerator.com. That's TRUPowerGenerator.com. Plus, 560 listeners get a free 10-year extended warranty. Terms and conditions apply. Call for details. True Power Generator Service and Generac. It's not just a generator, it's a power move.
Dinesh D'Souza went into a war zone to make his new film, revealing never-before-seen footage of October 7th. The film offers a new way to understand Israel, radical Islam, anti-Semitism, and biblical prophecy.
Could the fate of the world be tied to this place?
The Dragon's Prophecy, based on Jonathan Cahn's international bestseller. Watch it now or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. That's salemnow.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-1865. 800-515-1865. 800-515-1865.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 7:37 in our latest installment of Why Dan Proft is Single. The why? I missed the window. We'll explain and hear perspective from tech entrepreneur Palmer Luckey at 7:37. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 47 degrees in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A woman was found shot to death on Chicago's southeast side yesterday morning. The unidentified victim was found with 2 gunshot wounds to her head in the 11,000 block of South Mackinac Avenue. There are no suspects at this time, and the investigation is continuing. An 18-year-old student who was reported missing when she failed to turn up to a swim meet last week has been found. You might remember a prayer vigil was held last Thursday evening with friends, family, and community members all praying for the safe return of Estefania Herrera. Facebook post on her school site thanked everyone for the prayers as they had been answered. There's been no word on where Herrera was while she was missing. And as the federal government shutdown continues, new concerns over food insecurity grow. Nearly 2 million people in our state rely on SNAP benefits to purchase food. Officials with the U.S. Department of Agriculture say the agency cannot use contingency funds to pay for food stamps during the government shutdown. According to the Illinois Department of Human Services, the situation is fluid and they'll continue to post updates as that November 1st deadline approaches. This news update is delivered to you by Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery. Local delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now and schedule your delivery. And Check the Roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings explains the impact of the shutdown.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said that he is opposing a Senate Republican bill to extend pay to the troops and to some federal workers during the shutdown, all to appease a radical left-wing base. It is pathetic political theater.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker, and I'm here with
Amy Jacobson
from Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker and Amy Jacobson here on AM 560, The Answer. Now, I'm a financial advisor, and Amy's the co-host for our program. You know, Amy, recently President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. A lot of folks aren't realizing, Amy, that if they have highly appreciated assets, they can potentially tax defer the capital gains tax, place that money into a qualified opportunity fund, and then 10 years from now, get back out of that investment and pay no capital gains tax on either investment. Have you heard of such a thing, Amy?
I did not know about that. That seemed to be hidden in the bill.
It's only 900 some pages.
Yeah,
we have to pass it to see what's in it.
An easy beach read, yes.
Yes. And now there's another thing in the bill as well, Amy. Section 1202. Amy, did you read Section 1202?
I did not, but thank you for the homework assignment.
If you're a small business owner, many small business owners can now sell their small business and potentially pay no federal capital gains taxes on that capital gain of selling their business.
Wow.
If you'd like to get a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Text the keyword book. That's BOOK to 224-496-3999. Text the keyword book to 224-496-3999. In addition to a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? You'll also get our entire Retirement Decoded toolkit. We'll also give you the opportunity to talk to us 15 minutes for free over the telephone at another time so we can go through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act with you, show you how to potentially sell your highly appreciated assets and pay no federal capital gains tax, how qualified opportunity funds work, and also if you're a small business owner, how to potentially pay no capital gains on the sale of your small business through Section 1202, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Text book to 224-496-3999 or call that very same number, 224-496-3999.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not offer tax advice.
Fearless conversations and sharp analysis of the stories that matter. It's the Aaron Mullins Show, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
I do find it a little bit off-putting when someone has a history of calling others out for being complicit via their silence to then occupy that space themselves. The hypocrisy is the issue I have.
The Aaron Mullins Show on the Salem Podcast Network. Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Picture this. You're halfway through a DIY car fix and boom, you're missing a part. It's okay, because whatever it is, it's on eBay, and it's guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
From the Team Hartberg Traffic Center, Chicago rush hour starting to build this morning. Eden's outbound from Montrose to Lake Cook, about an 18-minute drive. Slow traffic on the Kennedy inbound from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange, about a 7-minute backup. How about the Eisenhower? We're cooking on the Ike. Slow traffic on the inbound between Des Plaines and Damon Avenue, about a 20-minute backup right now if you're at Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to DeSable Lakeshore Drive. How about the Dan Ryans? About a 5-minute backup if you're inbound between 75th and 71st. Local lanes still an issue on the Dan Ryan inbound between 51st and Roosevelt. DeSable Lakeshore southbound from Hollywood to Monroe, no delays there, about a 12-minute ride. Finally, an issue popping up just now in the Tri-State. This is northbound between Reagan Memorial and Eisenhower, about a 7-minute backup due to slow traffic on the ramp. This report sponsored by Staples. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $125 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends November 1st. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out that QC Kinetics forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny, becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight, it'll be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies and breezy weather with a high of 57. By Wednesday, it will be cloudy, windy with a chance of showers in the area, reaching a high of 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
No, I'm waiting for the musical interlude to... No, there it is. Yeah, that's better. And take it down a notch. Get comfy. Wrap yourself in an Afghan. Get a quart of Haagen-Dazs and settle in. In this installment of Why Dan Proft is Single, I was struck by something that Palmer Luckey, very successful young tech entrepreneur, probably in his early to mid-30s, something he had to say about marriage. He's been married about 10 years, as he discloses in this riff. And he said the key was marrying young.
I'm hoping that my son figures out who he's going to marry when he's 15, 16, 17. That worked for a really long time. I don't think figuring it out in your 20s or 30s or 40s is even remotely optimal for life. Now, my personal story is I've been dating my wife since I was 15 years old. We met at debate camp, started dating. We're still together and we're married now. We've been married for a decade. Yeah. And people are like, oh, but your situation is so unique. I mean, how can you possibly know if they're the right person? And my answer to them is, well, it seemed to work pretty well for basically the entirety of human civilization. They say, oh, but men used to treat women poorly. It's like, look, these are independent issues. This idea that getting married young or at least having the intention to, I'm not saying that my son needs to get married when he's 16, but this idea that it's unthinkable that you get married until you're in 30s, it is a very unnatural and modern thing. And I think that it leads to a prolonged adolescence. It leads to you not thinking about what's important in life. It leads to you spending a big chunk of your most productive years probably not aligned correctly with what you were biologically designed to do. So that's my controversial opinion. I'm gonna hope that I can find a nice girl for my son before he can drive.
Well, I met my wife at 19. Still love her. And
isn't it great?
Going. Yeah, 20 years.
And when you meet when you're young, the nice thing is you get to grow together. You get to be the people who are the right person for the other side. And I'm not putting people down who get married in their 30s or 40s, but from what I've seen of my own situation versus those of my friends, it is a lot easier to meet someone who's perfect for you when you grow into that together than when you try to find somebody who's gone through 30 or 40 years of their own life and hope that their life has turned them into exactly the type of person that you want to be with for the rest of yours. It's just that's a really lucky dice you need to roll.
312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Is he right? Because I know that's the popular view. Getting married young. That's the way to do it. You know, I used to have this discussion with my former partner in sound at WLS, Bruce Wolf, because he got married young to his wife. They met at Northwestern. Not quite debate camp, but something similar. I knew I should have gone to debate camp. Anyway, I digress. They lived happily ever after, as far as I can tell, 5 kids, and it's all great. But we would talk about that, not in the context of why Dan Proft is single, but I guess somewhat at the time. Because the idea is that, you get married younger, like my grandparents, World War II generation did, and even my parents. And you sort of fight your way through life together, and that has a bonding experience that it's tough to replicate later in life in a second marriage or after, as Palmer Luckey was saying, after you've lived a substantial part of your life with someone else, and then you or by yourself, and then you meet this person in your 30s, 40s, whatever. I think there's something to that, and it's difficult to zero in on the statistics. I was looking at this in advance of this topic, and you have studies that say all sorts of things. Basically, a lot of them suggest that the 28 to 32 age range has the lowest divorce rates. But it's a lot of sort of cherry-picking statistics from what I can gather from the studies that have tried to figure out what is the highest divorce rate in terms of the cohort of age you got married. So I'm not sure. I think there's some guidance here. Interestingly, divorce rates, what is pretty clear is if you've been divorced once, like the divorce rates for second and third marriages are through the roof, almost any age. That's really interesting to me. But I digress. We're just talking about getting married young versus getting married later. And young, I guess now we'd expand the universe maybe to 30-ish. Palmer Luckey, like I said, probably got married when he was, he must have, between when he was 20 and 25. And, and these kids, and he's went on, I think if he's not a billionaire, he's pretty close with the tech gigs that he's been a part of. But just so the underlying question, it's not really data driven. It's more cultural and observational, I think, because I don't think you have great data on this. But it's also a bit logical, like he was describing. I think he's right. I do. And so the window has closed on me, but perhaps not for you, or perhaps not for anybody, or everybody, or, there's always the anomaly. There's always the black swan out there in their 40s or 50s or 60s that can do it right the first time. I know. I mean, I think I talked about this on the show a couple years ago. A good friend of a friend got married for the first time in his, mid-80s. First time. So, it seems to be going well. Maybe if you do it at that late, then you're a short timer, so you can tolerate what your expected time is going to be. I don't know. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Tom in Blue Island, you're on Chicago's Morning.
Good morning, Dan.
Now I know you're single. Wait, hold on a second. I know you're single, and I know your MO here is to, make a comment that run away, but we're going to probe this together since you're a single dude and is, I don't know. But, so don't run away. Go ahead.
All right. I won't run away.
All right.
Every year that's added, every year that goes on is more baggage. There's more potted plants, more stupid stuffed animals. It's also another year that the potential wife, unless she's been locked away in a convent, has been out in the field, shall we say. So unless you get, I have a few of my best friends married their high school sweethearts. They're still married, and they've made it. I foolishly, on the other hand, kept looking for a greener pasture, and then you know what happens when you're in your mid-50s. The pasture has it's been raised by weeds, and that's all that's left, Mr. Proft.
Well, so you look back. So were you one of those guys who's always like, like this is a good woman that I'm with, but I think I can do better? Was it one of those things? You're always like trying to, you're looking for the flaw and then you're trying to always do better. Is that it?
No.
All right.
There has always been a level of there's more fish in the sea, but I never meant that from I never meant that to be malicious, Dan. I have no one to blame but myself. I had a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful son, and I was a bad husband, Dan. I was running this stupid roofing company. I was never home. When I got off of work when I was a kid, I'd go have some beers. I wouldn't get home till 10 o'clock. I was a bad husband. So
I didn't know.
My situation isn't directed at women. I had a great wife, and I screwed that up. So these are just the circumstances now as a mid-50-year-old man.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that you were divorced. I was unaware of that. Okay, that's new information.
Yes,
for
sir.
me.
So I'm 57 now, Dan. I've been divorced more than half my life. I was divorced by the time I was 30.
What time? How old were you when you got married?
No. Marriage is something that you do once.
No, but how old were you when you got married? How old were you?
Oh, I was 27. So, but we were together. My ex-wife and I were together for 5 or 6 years, and then this will be unsurprising, is that once we got married, the screws started tightening a little bit, and my parents got divorced when I was young, Dan. So I've been fending for myself since I was a caddy. As you know, we've talked about golf before. I was making good money as a caddy when I was 12 years old. So I was never put in a position of, you need to be home at this time, you need to do this. And, I didn't handle that well. But the bigger issue is I didn't realize what I had. I should have none of it was over the top, Dan. It was stuff that should have been managed, and it really should have been managed for, like, I have a beautiful son. It should have been managed for him. So...
All right. Thanks for the call, Tom. Tex was my mid-'80s friend for love or immigration status. Ha, ha, ha. No, this mid-'80s friend I'm talking about, he had been with this woman for 20 years or something. And I think frankly, a lot of it was just for estate planning purposes. Like, they were going to continue being together, but you wanted to formalize the situation because, you want to make sure that... everything is in order, and what you intend to do with your estate is done. Making sure your significant other is taken care of, and those sorts of things. So that's what that was for. Melody in Barrington Hills. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi.
Hey, Melody.
I just wanted to say that I met my husband when we were 15, and we got married when we were 23. We been married for 47 years, so it worked out.
And so is it Palmer lucky what he's describing here as a young man, and already thinking about a partner for his son? But is that how you see it, looking back on it? Like, you fought through life together and you sort of grew together?
Exactly. We both were working, and we met at a restaurant that we worked at. But yeah. I think meeting somebody when you're younger is a good plan.
Thanks for the call, Melody. Yeah, I mean, just like look back and I don't know. Text from 7773. Yes, get married young. I was 20, my husband 21, and we were married 40 years when he passed away. We had 4 happy... hold on, the text gets cut. Hold on, let me finish, see if I can get this. Okay, we had 4 happy, healthy, successful kids along the way. Okay, very good. Very good. Tom in Crystal Lake, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, hi. The discussion so far seems to be centered around whether mom or dad are happy in their marriage. The primary purpose of all this is to have children. And it is better that children be born with parents who are younger. The average age of a woman giving birth to their first child in America today is almost 31. That's not healthy. It's not healthy for the mom. It's not healthy for the baby. And the perinatal mortality is going up in the United States, not because the healthcare is bad. Healthcare is better anywhere in the world. But our moms are delivering too late, and our families are too small. And that should be the focus, not whether or not we're happy.
No, I agree with that. Thanks for the call, Tom. Right, but I mean, one of the things is you get married young, and are you going to stick together and have family and raise the kids and be there for the kids? And is that a better play in terms of a percentage chance to have an intact family that stays intact for the duration? I guess that's the question. And I seem to be getting a lot of response that is the better play. And it does logically make sense. As Palmer, like you said, this isn't like a laboratory experiment. We can look back at our ancestry and see what was done and what worked and what propagated the family and say, well, that's probably the best play. Dave in Bristol, Wisconsin.
Hey, Dan, good morning.
Morning.
I took a different route. Up
me
through
too.
my 40s, had a lot of relationships, some good, some bad. I was at fault. Backstabbing went both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I felt I could really never be me, so I just waited. Both my parents got divorced early. They both had several, 2 or 3 divorces. So I waited. I met someone in my early 40s. We've been together almost 18 years, and we just got married in September of 22.
Okay, but you've been married 18 years. I mean, you've been together. You begin together 18 years. You said
18 years, yeah, because we were both apprehensive, but as the more time we spent, we really melded. And she's 9 years older than me, but she's a great woman, and I'm kind of an old soul. And like I said, we just got married September in 22. We raised her 3 children, still raising one that's handicapped. But I wish I had kids? I mean, yeah, sometimes, but it's okay that I didn't. Still made a contribution to the kids' life, and we're having a great time now, and I can be me.
What was the, if I may ask, what was the trigger, for being together for 18 years and doing all that along the way? What was the trigger to finally formalize it?
I felt that to be honest, I really, really wanted to see her ex-husband's name off all the mail and from everywhere around the house. And I felt that, I had established my own house as a man. We are together. You should have my name. And I do foresee, you're a good woman, and I foresee taking care of you and being with you together. Completely trustworthy. She's a massage therapist. She's around men all the time. I totally trust her. I'm also an over-the-road truck driver. Our communication is great. We have a great time. And, it's just kind of the way my life played out, I guess.
All right, Dave. Very good. Thanks for sharing. Oh, I appreciate it. I don't say that very much. Thanks for sharing. Text from 815. My wife had twins at 43, and we felt we were much better prepared for kids that age than in our 20s, married 35 years. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying this is, 100% and this is the only way, what Palmer Luckey was describing. I'm just saying, what has the best chance as you think about passing on wisdom, ideally, when you get later on in life. Chris in Joliet.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Yeah, I've been married for 36 years. I was 18 when I got married. My wife was 19. I've known her since kindergarten. But we actually dated for a very short time, and once you get past that one hump, you know, when you get married that young, by the time you've been married 7-8 years, you look over at her and it's like, where's the woman I married? And she's probably thinking, where's the husband I married? But the hump you have to get over is you're still growing up at that time. You're promising to not only love the woman you married, but she's essentially a kid. You're promising to love the woman she grows into as well. But I think it would have been a lot easier to do it my way than it would be for two people who are older, set in their ways, decide they're going to live together, and they're immovable at that point, you know, in their core values and the way they conduct themselves. They're set in that, and it makes it hard to adapt to compatibility.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Good insights. Appreciate that. Kevin, Austin, Texas.
Yeah, in the Catholic religion, the intention or the purpose of marriage is to get each other into heaven. So I think if we focus on that, and I also think it's because our adolescence is postponed longer, so we're less mature. When people get married, I didn't get married until I was 35. I married a girl that we actually went to grade school together and hadn't seen each other for 20 years, and then we reconnected when we were older. I've got 2 kids. And it's because of our faith that we're able to stick through some very difficult times. You know, having a daughter who was born with Down syndrome and trying to navigate that. It's our faith that kept us together. And, you know, like I said, it's to get each other in heaven. Sometimes you got to go through hell to get there, but help each other out. You will the good of the other. I don't think it's about my individual happiness. It's about my dedication to my wife and my kids.
All right, Kevin. Appreciate that. Very good. Thanks for the call. Text from 630, someone give Chris a medal. 1 hump, that's all I got out of my marriage. Yeah, well, there's, 1,000 stories in the Naked City. We're getting some of them. Okay, I'm not reading that one. All right. Well, anyway, appreciate the contributions on this provocative question that was presented by Palmer Luckey. Another edition of Why Dan Proft is Single in the books. Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk to our friend John Hinderaker, president of the Center of the American Experiment, co-founder of PowerlineBlog.com, which is a good read on a daily basis. We've got elections coming up in, November 4th, so that would be, about a week from tomorrow. That's when it is in New York, New Jersey, Virginia. We'll start there with John Hinderaker at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Konnichiwa, Mr. President. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. President Trump is in Tokyo, Japan, the second stop on his trip to Asia after Malaysia. South Korea is next. He says he's consider extending the trip to add a meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un again.
I haven't mentioned it. I haven't said anything, but I'd love to meet with him if he'd like to meet. I got along great with Kim Jong-un. I liked him. He liked me. If he wants to meet, I'll be in South Korea.
They met in person 3 times during the president's first term. He sat down with Japan's Emperor Naruhito after landing in Tokyo. Today meets tomorrow with the new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi. 27 days into a government shutdown. A lot of federal food aid stops if it lasts until Saturday.
The USDA, which administers federal SNAP benefits, posted this warning on its website. Bottom line, the well has run dry. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st. They, Democrats, can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures, or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. And bear in mind that more than 40 million people are on that program.
Fox's Doug Luzader. Democrats say President Trump can save that program if he wants. There's money in an emergency fund. Midterm elections in Argentina have given Trump ally President Javier Milei more support in Congress.
The Trump administration offered Argentina a $40 billion aid package after tying future U.S. support to Milei's performance in the midterms. President Trump congratulating Milei on Truth Social, writing, quote, "Our confidence in him was justified by the people of Argentina." Angelo Bavaro, Fox News.
The world's oldest president, Paul Biya in Cameroon, 92 years old, is declared the winner of this month's election. At least 4 people have been shot and killed by security forces during pro-opposition protests. America's listening to Fox News.
morning. It is 48 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. A woman has died after falling onto the CTA rail line yesterday. Authorities say the woman fell onto the brown line track and made contact with the electrified third rail. The victim's identity has not been released. Meanwhile, in another rail incident, Chicago police are looking for those responsible for attacking a man on the Red Line Saturday night. The victim was taken to the hospital where he was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. A woman has died and 2 others injured following a rollover accident last night. That crash occurred in the 3200 block of Lakeshore Drive. Authorities say the female driver collided with the center median. She was transported to the hospital but succumbed to her injuries. 2 male passengers were transported to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries, while a female passenger was unharmed. As the federal government shutdown continues, new concerns over food insecurity grow. Nearly 2 million people in our state rely on SNAP benefits to purchase food. Officials with the U.S. Department of Agriculture say the agency cannot use contingency funds to pay for food stamps during the shutdown, and that the states will not be reimbursed if they cover the expenses on their own. According to the Illinois Department of Human Services, if SNAP funds are not delivered by the federal government, the state of Illinois does not have the budgetary ability to, quote, backfill these critical resources. The agency notes that the situation is fluid, and they'll continue to post updates as the November 1st deadline approaches. And 2 Chicago suburbs have been named among the safest in the U.S. for trick-or-treating. SafeHome.org named Juliet and Naperville among the safest for trick-or-treaters. Naperville ranked number 2 overall, cited for having one of the lowest violent crime rates per capita, a very low number of registered sex offenders, and minimal pedestrian fatalities, while Juliet rounded out the top 25. News is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and The Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
You're paying more for coffee and sodas, and that helped Keurig Dr. Pepper in the summer quarter. Sales rose 11% in the period. The company's raising its full-year outlook. Keurig is also in the process of buying Peet's Coffee's parent company, JDE Peet's, and it plans to separate its soda and coffee into 2 companies. Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian says he's seeing a small impact from the U.S. government shutdown. Bastian says it's costing the airline less than $1 million a day. He tells Reuters he's more concerned about the shortage of airport security staff. Striking Boeing workers in the St. Louis area have rejected the latest contract offer. Members of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers walked off the job nearly 3 months ago. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, happening on Saturday, November 8th at Westin Chicago Northwest in Itasca. This year, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, along with Dan Proft, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, and many more. This event will sell out fast, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by True Power Generator Service, Woodland Windows and Doors, and by Moms for Liberty. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly, each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Our veterans are our heroes. They answered the call to defend our freedom, putting their lives on the line for our nation. But today, thousands of these brave men and women are facing something no hero should ever face: food insecurity. That's where Farm to Veteran comes in. Through the Fulcrum Farm Foundation, this remarkable organization delivers farm-fresh, nutritious food directly to veterans in need through veteran services and organizations. From greenhouse-grown produce to eggs, they're ensuring our heroes have access to the high-quality food they deserve. But Farm to Veteran can't do it alone. They need our help. Your financial contribution directly supports their mission to feed more veterans across their growing network of partner farms nationwide. And there's another way you can make a difference. Join them at their upcoming community events. Visit farmtoveteran.com today. That's farm, the number 2, veteran.com, farmtoveteran.com, to donate or learn about events near you, because those who served our country shouldn't have to wonder where their next meal is coming from. Let's stand with those who stood for us. And to do so, support farmtoveteran.com. That's farm, the number 2, veteran.com.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Feel that chill in the air? Now's the perfect time to layer up. The outerwear shop is now open at Untuckit with sharp new jackets and vests made for this season and beyond. You'll find all the right layers to keep you warm and looking sharp, including cozy sweaters, sweatshirts, and more. But hurry, fall weather won't wait, and neither should you. So don't miss the outerwear shop, open now at Untuckit.com in more than 80 stores worldwide. Untuckit, shirts designed to be worn, untucked.
This month, Pure Talk is supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat vets struggling with PTSD. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. Sure, I like the unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and you will too. But you will love being in business with a company that shares your values. Dial pound 250, say micro, and switch to an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, minor delays on the Edens. It's building traffic on the outbound between Montrose and Niles Center Road. About a 5-minute backup there. The Kennedy is looking good. Inbound from Canfield to Montrose, about a 5-minute backup. 13-minute delay if you're inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Byrne interchange. We've got some delays in the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the old post office, about a 30-minute ride thanks to a 15-minute backup. 17-minute backup if you're outbound Ike from the old post office to Wolf. On the Stevenson, typical slowdown on the inbound lanes between Central and Western Avenue, about a 12-minute backup. Brake lights are coming alive on the Stevenson outbound from DuSable Lakeshore to the Tri-State. On the Dan Ryan inbound, about an 18-minute ride if you're 95th to the Byrne interchange. Finally, DuSable Lakeshore, no major issues. Traffic is slow southbound between Fullerton and the Oak Street curve. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at almostfreeteeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out that QC Kinetics weather forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will be sunny and becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow is forecasted to be mostly cloudy and breezy with a high of 57. Wednesday will be cloudy and windy with a chance of a shower in the area. The high temperature will reach 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So Election Day in New York, New Jersey, Virginia in particular, 8 days away, a week from tomorrow. And Zoran Mamdani took the opportunity to begin his closing argument by, I guess, focusing on his base. If you look at the polling, Mamdani is winning because he's circling the field in New York City when it comes to people not born in this country. He's got like a 30-point lead over Cuomo. When it comes, people not born in this country, but eligible to vote, right? So first-generation immigrants. Although, in New York City, who knows? But That's the survey research. And actually, Andrew Cuomo is leading them by 9 points among those who were born in America. And so he is focusing on his first generation, particularly Muslim base, and the solidarity and marginality play that comes with focusing on a particular minority group that supposedly is representative of other minority groups that are also being treated shabbily, the majority, or by some other boogeyman, Trump, the billionaires around Trump. I don't know, Curtis Sliwa. I mean, it's a tough argument to make out, but anyway, they're oppressed by mainly Trump and Republicans, and Cuomo is a false prophet, and so he needs to be discarded because the revolution will run through Mamdani. That's essentially what he argues. And this is rather bold, I thought. Remembering 9/11 through the prism of this anecdote about his aunt.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City.
Very emotional.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Because to be Muslim in New York...
To be Muslim in New York is to expect indignity.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. That is not drawing support from all quarters, as you might imagine, sort of like his doing a photo op with an unindicted co-conspirator of the first World Trade Center bombing, who also was a character witness for the mastermind of the first World Trade Center bombing at trial. That's not sitting well with a lot of families who lost loved ones, both in the first World Trade Center bombing, of course, as well as on 9/11. Right. The real tragedy of 9/11 was what was allegedly happened to Mamdani's aunt afterwards. You know what it reminded me of? I know a lot of people are invoking the old Norm Macdonald joke, like if Muslims got nuclear weapons and killed 60 million people, the real tragedy would be the backlash against Muslims after that occurred. That's sort of being resuscitated, a joke that Norm Macdonald, may he rest in peace, made about a decade ago. But it was more reminiscent to me of Scott MacFarlane, who's a CBS News reporter, what he had to say, remember on this Chuck Todd podcast a few months ago, about what happened to him at Butler, Pennsylvania?
For those of us there, it was such a horror because you saw an emerging America. And it wasn't the shooting, Chuck. I got diagnosed with PTSD within 48 hours. I got put on trauma leave. Not because I think of the shooting, but because you saw it in the eyes, the reaction of the people. They were coming for us. If he didn't jump up with his fist, they were going to come kill us. I know.
Right. Those Trump supporters at Butler, Pennsylvania were going to execute members of the D.C. press corps if Trump didn't stand up and pump his fist. That's what Scott MacFarlane said, and Chuck Todd said, yep, I know. That's what would have happened. The real tragedy of the assassination attempt on Trump's life and the murder of that firefighter on that day was how Scott MacFarlane felt about it. Right. Could you be any bigger of a navel gazer? Could you be any more tone deaf? No. Will it inhibit Mamdani's chances of closing this out? I tend to doubt it. For more on this and other related matters, John Hindraker, president of the Center of the American Experiment and contributor to PowerlineBlog.com, joins us. John, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, happy to do it, Dan.
You know, it's almost like these wildly ignorant, intemperate remarks that draw a rebuke, not even just from conservatives, but from like family members of victims. It almost like there's the left just has that immediate backlash to rally around their candidate or issue du jour. That's what I expect is going to happen to Mamdani. I just don't think there's anything that penetrates the base of his support in New York City.
Well, everybody thinks he's going to win, and I don't have any basis to disagree with that. And, people talk a lot about how liberals live in a bubble and so on, and obviously it's true. In other words, they wouldn't say these things if there weren't a lot of people out there to whom they make sense.
Right.
Mamdani says, oh, yeah, the real tragedy of 9/11 is that my aunt had to start riding Ubers, I guess, instead of taking the subway. I don't know. And to a normal person, that's crazy. But, he's not stupid. He knows his audience. And obviously there's a lot of people out there who nod along and say, oh, yeah, that's right.
And perspective on the races in Jersey and Virginia as well. I mean, just in terms of what you think the implications will be depending on the outcome in terms of changing any sort of posture either party is taking.
Well, we'll see what happens. I was in D.C. over the weekend, got together with a guy from Virginia who's very knowledgeable about politics there. And of course, what's going on there is that Jay Jones, it got revealed that he was texting about a former speaker, I think, of the legislature there and wanting to execute him with 2 bullets to the head and then urinate on his grave. And he talked about wanting that man's young children, little kids, to die because they were little fascists. I mean, it's really shocking stuff. And it came out at a time when it was probably too late for the Democrats to come up with a new candidate for Attorney General. And so instead of doing that, they've all coalesced behind him. And the candidate for governor, what's her name, Spanberger, a very mediocre candidate, is backing him all the way. And the national Democrats from Virginia are all sticking with him. And it looks like Spanberger is going to win that governor slot. And there's a pretty good chance Jay Jones might even get elected Attorney General over the incumbent, despite those texts and other peccadillos, driving 116 miles an hour, getting stopped, and so on. And I think what's going on there is that Donald Trump is so unpopular in Virginia because there are so many government employees living in Northern Virginia that right now running as a Republican is very, very tough.
And Jersey, it seems like there's more of a shot for Chitterelli, the Republican there. But, you're still up against a lot of inertia that's both anti-Trump and just used to voting for the person with the D next to their name. And even though Mikey Sherrill is similarly mediocre, as you said, of Spanberger, it just for that party, it just doesn't matter. And unless you can turn out all the Trump voters and a good subset of the independent voters, it's just tough for a Republican in any state that is not substantially red.
Well, we see this in my state of Minnesota. It's one of the problems Republicans have right now. There's a lot of people who are dedicated Trump voters but are not dedicated Republican Party voters. And so when Trump is on the ballot, they turn out. When Trump is not on the ballot, they may or may not turn out. And that's something we've seen happen here in Minnesota. I think it's happened in other states around the country.
Speaking of your home state of Minnesota there, and Minneapolis in particular, interesting piece by Chris Rufo over at City Journal on George Floyd Square and where we are after the quote-unquote revolution of 2020. Where are we with George Floyd Square and the state of affairs in Minneapolis?
Dan, it's a time capsule. And, of course, people in my organization have been writing about this steadily all the way along, and basically nothing has happened since 2020. 5 years have gone by. George Floyd Square looks exactly as it did then. Businesses are dying. Residents have moved out. It's become a haven for drug dealers and drug users. Law enforcement passes by occasionally but tries not to get involved. The whole city of Minneapolis has not rebounded from the riots of 2020. Here's a case you'll appreciate, Dan. Not only is George Floyd Square the same as it was 5 years ago, but the 3rd Precinct Minneapolis Police Department station, which was abandoned on the orders of higher-ups and burned, destroyed by the rioters, it's still sitting there. It's a burned-out hulk 5 years later, and the only change is they've now put up a sign that says future home of the Minneapolis Democracy Center. They're going to have early voting and voter outreach, supposedly, but the building is just a burned-out hulk, and that's kind of symbolic of the entire city of Minneapolis, where downtown is, has not bounced back. The city has not bounced back. Property values have catastrophically declined.
And what happens in your mayor's race with Jacob Frey seeking a third term?
Yeah, so we've got the local version of Mamdani in New York.
Yeah.
A guy named Omar Fateh, currently a Minnesota legislator, running for mayor of Minneapolis. He's a Somali immigrant, extremely left-wing, a self-avowed socialist. And he got the Democratic endorsement for mayor, although I think it was later taken away because of irregularities. I mean, the Democratic Party in Minneapolis sometimes has fistfights breaking out in their caucuses. I mean, it's a wild scene. And so
Mostly
Omar
peaceful
Fateh
fistfights, though. Mostly peaceful fistfights.
Yeah, exactly right. And so a lot of people think Omar Fateh is going to win that race, and he may. I always remind people, though, that in 2021, same thing happened. A member of the Democratic Socialists got the Democrat endorsement, but it was Jacob Frey who won the election, and so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens.
But the point is, does it matter that much whether it's Frey or Fateh?
Well, I mean, it matters. Oh, well, probably not. But it matters to this extent that Jacob Frey is a guy who at least can talk to business people and sound rational. Now, he hasn't been able to do anything to actually bring Minneapolis back from the disasters of 2020. But I do think that if Omar Fateh wins that election, it's going to be another nail in the coffin for the city.
John Hindraker, president of the Center of the American Experiment, contributor to Powerline, powerlineblog.com. John, thanks as always.
Great to be with you, Dan.
You too, and John joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me take a moment to talk about my friends at QC Kinetics. They're helping so many listeners regain their mobility free from joint pain. Does this sound like you? Where every time you move, it's a reminder of what hurts? A reminder of how far you've drifted from the life you once had? Well, relief is closer than you think, and it doesn't have to come from surgery. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team tap into your body's own regenerative power using natural healing factors that help restore and repair damaged tissue, reduce inflammation, and relieve pain at its source. Stop masking the pain. Let QC Kinetics help you regain what pain took away. And this Veterans Day, QC Kinetics is giving back to our heroes. Veterans will get $500 off their treatment. And for every non-veteran who starts care, QC Kinetics will donate $500 to the Wounded Warrior Project. It's a great time to book your free consultation to learn how QC Kinetics can help. Call 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, that phone number, 312-827-6261, and tell them I sent you when you call. If you're looking to purchase a family member's home after their death, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Pam wanted to purchase her grandfather's $400,000 home after she passed, which was left to Pam's father, Ted, and her Aunt Betty. Ted wanted to give his half of the equity to Pam and sell her the home for $200,000. Bad move. David recommended Pam purchase the home for $400,000 and get a gift of equity from Ted for $200,000. This enabled Pam to secure a lower rate with no money out of her pocket. Let's review. David helped Pam purchase her grandmother's home without having to bring in a penny to closing, and she secured a lower rate. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of AM 560 listeners purchase homes after a family member's death, but they can't help you if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit online 56david.com. That number again, 855-563-2843, or visit David Hochberg David Hochberg online at 56david.com, 56david.com. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 1124061.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Well, that was a surprise. The HVAC tech just said our furnace apparently has a cracked heat exchanger, and it'll cost thousands.
Oh, you're kidding. He barely looked at it. Now he's pushing a huge repair? What should we do?
I don't really trust them. We need a second opinion. My brother Mark recommended Air Right Heating and Cooling. I looked them up and they seem legit. Great Google reviews. I'm sure they'd give us an honest assessment. He liked that they checked their carbon monoxide readings so he knows the air they're breathing is safe. And I guess it also gave a sense of how much life was left in their furnace.
I'd love that peace of mind. Plus, why spend a fortune on something we might not even need?
Get a second opinion from Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you and get $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling right now at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
What makes Hassellus mattress different?
Aside from employee-free showrooms, free next-day delivery and haul-away, and way too low prices on Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and Serta Perfect Sleeper?
Yeah, besides that.
Well, Hassellus is locally owned.
You mean your franchise is locally owned?
We're not a franchise. Every showroom is owned and managed by the same family. So, when you shop at Hassellus, your money stays right here. And through Monday, our family wants to give you a $248 credit towards a new Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, and Serta Perfect Sleeper just for shopping local.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Our 43 beds from the top 5 brands start at $393.
I like that.
Try and buy with no pushy sales guy.
I love that.
Free next day delivery too.
Thanks.
For what?
For being different.
Shop local and enjoy a $248 credit through Monday at Hassellus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find a no-hassle, employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to Marlin and the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan Proft here. Kamala Harris sat down for a BBC interview. You know, she's trying to sell her book and all that. And she's not done. She is not done with politics, no siree.
But you say in your book, I'm not done.
That is correct. I am not done. I have lived my entire career a life of service. And it's in my bones.
Yeah.
And there are many ways to serve. I've not decided yet what I will do in the future beyond what I am doing right now.
But you've been very clear that it's a possibility you might run again to become president. And in my experience interviewing politicians, when someone says, I'm not done, it means they are thinking seriously about running. But when you look at the bookies' odds, they put you as an outsider, even behind Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I mean, is that underestimating you?
Oh, jeez.
I think there are all kinds of polls that will tell you a variety of things. I've never listened to polls. If I listened to polls, I would have not run for my first office or my second office, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here in this interview.
I certainly wish you would have listened to the polls. But hey, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kamala's coming for you. You're on notice, buddy. And after that, Stephen A. Smith. Coming up at 8:38. A case study at my alma mater, Bennett Academy High School. They don't have the guts to confront me directly. So, they snipe and backstab and bitch like little cowards do. So now we'll revisit the story that's the basis of their sniping and backstabbing and bitching. 8:38. Now it's time to check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 48 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the AM 560 newsroom. Thieves have been hard at work this morning. Authorities say thieves broke into Chicago's Hookah and CBD on West Devon Avenue and Rosati's Pizza on California Avenue. In both cases, windows were smashed open and thieves made out with the ATMs that were located inside the businesses. Police say the bandits made off in a black SUV in both instances. Police are not saying if the burglaries are related, and there are no suspects in custody at this time. And a rollover accident has claimed the life of a woman and injured 2 others. Authorities say that crash occurred in the 3200 block of Lakeshore Drive when the female driver collided with the center median last night. She was transported to the hospital but succumbed to her injuries. 2 male passengers were transported to area hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries, while a female passenger was unharmed. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees the double standard working again.
They think they can call all of us fascists and Hitlers and Nazis all day long. They can get violent. They can do whatever they want to do. Trump has some fun with an AI video, and they melt down like the Wicked Witch of the West getting a bucket of water dumped on her.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Let me take a moment to talk about my friends at QC Kinetics. They're helping so many listeners regain their mobility free from joint pain. Does this sound like you? Where every time you move, it's a reminder of what hurts? A reminder of how far you've drifted from the life you once had? Well, relief is closer than you think, and it doesn't have to come from surgery. At QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli and her team tap into your body's own regenerative power using natural healing factors that help restore and repair damaged tissue, reduce inflammation, and relieve pain at its source. Stop masking the pain. Let QC Kinetics help you regain what pain took away. And this Veterans Day, QC Kinetics is giving back to our heroes. Veterans will get $500 off their treatment. And for every non-veteran who starts care, QC Kinetics will donate $500 to the Wounded Warrior Project. It's a great time to book your free consultation to learn how QC Kinetics can help. Call 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, that phone number, 312-827-6261, and tell them I sent you when you call.
I give up.
What's wrong?
I've been doing everything wrong at home. I washed the red towels with the white bed sheets. I left all the kitchen cabinet doors open. I wiped out the hydrangeas with the weed whacker.
Hey, we all make mistakes.
But darn it, my wife still isn't mad at me.
Wait, hold on. You're doing these things on purpose?
Yeah.
Why?
So I can sleep on the couch.
Let me guess. The James sofa from Penny Mustard?
Bingo.
With the extra deep seats.
And ultra high density foam cushions?
Remove the back cushions and it's almost like you're sleeping on a twin bed.
Twin bed? Exactly.
Let me get this straight. You're trying to make your wife mad so she'll make you sleep on the sofa?
The James sofa, yes.
I gotta admit, it's a pretty good plan.
The James sofa, American made with a solid wood fortress frame and hundreds of fabric and leather options, starting at $22.96 at Penny Mustard.
7 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Better versions of what people want.
Penny Mustard Furnishings.
In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, starting off in the Edens, if you're outbound from Montrose to Lake Cook, about a 5-minute backup. Cruising on the Kennedy, about a 15-minute delay if you're outbound between Montrose and Harlem Avenue. Inbound Kennedy from O'Hare to the Burn Interchange, about a 32-minute drive. Checking the Ike, slow traffic if you're inbound between Des Plaines and Damon, about a 15-minute delay. Stevenson inbound, stop and go between Central and Western Avenue, about an 8-minute backup. Also, Stevenson heading out from DuSable Lakeshore Drive to the Tri-State, about a 6-minute delay. On the Dan Ryans, no major issues. We've got some brake lights if you're inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, about a 17-minute ride. DuSable Lakeshore traffic is solid if you're northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. Finally, the Tri-State Tollway seeing some backups if you're northbound between 75th and 47th. Just stop and go there. This report sponsored by Blindster.com. Looking for affordable blinds, shades, or shutters for your home? Don't hire an expensive pro. Check out Blindster.com, where they offer custom-made window coverings at guaranteed low prices with a team of pros ready to help you every step of the way. Blindster.com. I'm John Cruz. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now check out that QC Kinetics weather forecast from
Today
the
will be
National
sunny,
Weather Service.
becoming partly cloudy with breezy conditions in the afternoon. Expect a high of 57. Tonight, it'll be partly cloudy with a low of 45. Tomorrow will bring mostly cloudy skies and breezy weather with a high of 57. By Wednesday, it will be cloudy, windy with a chance of showers in the area, reaching a high of 54. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Get your tickets for Freedom Summit Chicago 2025, featuring Dr. Ben Carson, Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, and many more. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So, a few weeks back, I got a copy of the 2025 to 2030 strategic plan for Bennett Academy, the high school I attended, and what is customarily one of the best high schools in the state of Illinois. Best test scores, college acceptance rates, all that jazz. Good sports programs, good basketball, some other programs, football less so, but anyway. The strategic plan 2025 to 2030, in the identity and culture section, included this: develop and articulate plans to increase racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic diversity among students, faculty, administration, and families, and live out that philosophy by being intentional in the admission process, the hiring process, and in financial assistance decisions. Well, that is stock DEI. That is counting by race, being intentional in the admission process, the hiring process. We're going to hire more minorities, more honkies, and we're going to be intentional about it. Well, that's not consistent with a meritocracy. It's not consistent with catechism. It's not consistent with the culture that was once upon a time the Bennett Academy culture. So I said so. Now I'm saying so again. And it runs afoul to the other thing. It runs afoul of the otty things they say. Identity culture. Enrich our programs by nurturing the Catholic faith and Benedictine heritage. And then one rung down and you're talking DEI. You're talking identitarianism, not Catholicism. Nobody's supposed to say anything about that. So I heard over the weekend from somebody I won't identify, but very involved at the school. It's been a few weeks since our conversation, and the immediate and angry reaction was at Dan. People said, Dan hates the school, he never comes back, doesn't donate, should have never sent a tweet, he's looking for clicks. And a lot of people thought I wrote an article about this as well, which I did not. That was the response. And my contact, or my friend over there, writes, I'm just amazed at how these people went after Dan. he's just, commenting on that. And sort of decrying some of what some of the teachers and others said too about this. And it's just another sort of illustrative example of how these institutions have been destroyed from within or are being destroyed. They're disintegrating from within. We talked about the Benedictines abdicating from the school such that it's now independent, no longer Benedictine control, because the monks did not want to exercise the power that they had over the school to discipline, frankly, remove and install this advisory board, which they had complete control over, that was operating in ways that ran, again, contrary to Catholic teaching, contrary to the school's stated identity and values, if those are the sorts of things you care about at a Catholic school. But for many now, the Catholic part is just ornamentation, as we've seen in incidents at Loyola Academy and elsewhere. It's just ornamentation. It's, it's sort of like a good housekeeping seal in terms of the education for the purposes of status, for the purposes of getting into a good college. But the character formation piece of it is sort of like, it's a throw-in. I mean, it's a give or take. I mean, that's one way to do it, but at least be honest about it. They're not honest about it. They're just angry about being called on it. Doesn't donate to the school, never comes. I actually did come back. I spoke to a parents group, their invitation. This is many years ago now. Doubt I get that invite today, but that's okay. I don't care about being on a wall of honor or being invited to speak. And why would I donate to a school going this direction? I want to help you underwrite this? No. But unfortunately, not enough other people are. They don't want to bring attention to it. They rather just snipe, behind people's backs and blame the person pointing out something that is true, because we're all just supposed to get along and agree with wherever the zeitgeist is at any moment in this school or any other school. This is supposed to be illustrative. Up at Loyola Academy, when they started going rogue, it wasn't until Purcell, the former CEO of Morgan Stanley, sent a letter saying, my family's done donating to Loyola until you guys get back to the core mission of that school and act in furtherance of said mission. And that got some attention. But if you don't have big donors step up, then it doesn't get much attention. Or people like my platform like I have, they won't step up. I mean, they won't react lest they further the story. So I got the private reaction, and now I'm furthering the story with the private reaction. Fine by me. But they won't change either, and nobody's really stepped up. Nobody's stepped up to say anything of particular note that I've seen since this school started its slide towards Gomorrah, and that's what's happening. So that board of directors at Bennett Academy, all those whisperers in the shadows, Michael Bava, Dave DeCosti, 96 grad, Robert Fernandez, 92 grad. This is the board of directors at Bennett. Volunteer advisory board that essentially was able to engineer a coup because the Benedictines abdicated. Karen Emmerich Flavin, Eileen Galvin Healy, Colleen Doherty Hickey, Ryan Kubacki, Daniel McGuire, Mrs. B.J. Marshall, William Myers, Joe Nelligan, Thomas Odo, Kevin Phelan, Brian Richards, Megan Boland Russell, Scott Schuster, Dr. Michael Tran, and all those emeritus board members too. Anytime you want to come on. Anytime you want to step out of the shadows and own your decisions like an adult. Anytime you want to explain yourself. Don't you want to market Bennett Academy to the region? It's funny, I have no problem marketing Northridge Prep on this show, an independent Catholic school. Why is that, do you think? What's the difference? Because, as you have heard in the Northridge Prep communications and discussions on this show, Northridge Prep articulates their mission unequivocally, and then the school acts in furtherance of the mission to the benefit of the boys of that school. It's all boys school, unlike Bennett, co-ed, but still, doesn't matter. Principle's the same, or the lack thereof is the same. And the results are the results. And you have parents and administrators and staff aligned. Well, this school let staff and some board members, as I said, stage a coup. When they weren't paying attention, they lost control of the school, which we've seen happen over and over again at schools at every level. I mean, it's perhaps most pronounced at the collegiate level, just because you see garish displays of, for example, anti-Semitism after the October 7th attack, and say, what the hell has happened in Northwestern or Columbia or Harvard or Yale or on and on and on. And it's like, well, UCLA, well, you haven't been paying attention for a couple of generations, have you? Well, the same thing is happening at these once great schools that are having their greatness diminished by those who have assumed control. And so if you care about what Bennett Academy was, in my case, then you say something. You don't say nothing. You don't go along. I mean, in what I describe, what would the theology teacher, my classmate, Mike Bremner, he's a religious studies teacher there, what would he say about that? If this is who somebody said they were going to be and what they were going to do in furtherance of this character formation as the foundation of a Catholic education, this inculcation of the catechism as your moral code, a belief in the Almighty as the example, and you were saying something other than that happened, what would, in that hypothetical, what would you say that person do? Say something or say nothing? Challenge or retreat? I know retreat is the order of the day, but not for me. As long as I have this platform, I'm going to use it to advance the flag for what I think is right. Otherwise, I shouldn't have it. And I would say the same thing about those in charge of Bennett Academy. If you're not going to use the positions of authority you have at the school to advance the mission of the school as historically conceived, and as frankly as obvious, consistent with Catholic faith, then you shouldn't be in those positions of authority. And I'm sorry, I'm one of the few that's willing to say it publicly. But I'm not sorry. I'm just sorry that's the case, that I'm one of the few. I'm not sorry to do it. And so it's the same thing like we talked about earlier in the show with this obscene privilege test at Deerfield High School. I know one parent, Nicole Georges, posted about this and spoke out. Where's the challenge to the authority figures within these the school board and the administration in the case of a government school like Deerfield High School, but the principal and the administrators and the board of directors in the case of a private school like Bennett, or a private school near you, or a government school district near you. Over and over again, these things happen. I don't donate. Right. And if I did donate, then what? you'd humor my opinion while you run roughshod over me because we have the same problem of being in a discrete minority given the culture of the day in the western suburbs. You know, it really goes back to this conversation we had last week about this great piece that Helen Andrews wrote over at Compact Magazine, The Great Feminization. And the female takeover of institutions where they change if they're dominated by women. I mean, you can agree or disagree, but, read the piece and, frankly, the book that's referenced. Decide for yourselves. And, by the way, the feminization is not limited to women. It includes men who won't behave like men. Men who won't lead. Men who are cowards. I'm sure many of the men on that board of directors at Bennett Academy that I just listed. From Helen Andrews' piece, the problem is not that women are less talented than men or even that female modes of interaction are inferior in any objective sense. The problem is that female modes of interaction are now well suited to accomplishing the goals of many major institutions. You can have an academia that is majority female, but it will be, as majority female departments in today's universities already are, oriented toward other goals than open debate and the unfettered pursuit of truth. And if your academia doesn't pursue truth, what good is it? If your journalists aren't prickly individuals who don't mind alienating people, what good are they? If business loses its swashbuckling spirit and becomes a feminized, inward-focused bureaucracy, will it not stagnate? If the great feminization poses a threat to civilization, the question becomes whether there's anything we can do about it. The answer depends on why you think it occurred in the first place. There are many people who think the great feminization is a naturally occurring phenomenon. Women were finally given a chance to compete with men, and it turned out they were just better. That's why so many women are in our newsrooms running our political parties and managing our corporations. That's what feminists think happened, but they're wrong. Feminization is not an organic result of women outcompeting men. It's an artificial result of social engineering, and if we take our thumb off the scale, it will collapse within a generation. Well, Bennett Academy. Anybody wants to pursue truth? Have a discussion on the merits? You come at me as hard as you want. Guns a-blazing. And I'll just ask the simple question. Defend that DEI provision in your 5-year strategic plan. How does that square with catechism? How does that square with character formation? How does counting by race get us past race as a relevant factor in somebody's ability? Because that's the stated view, but that's not the behavior that we're seeing from the leadership of that school. So if you don't like it, do something about it. And if you don't like people criticizing it, then do something about it. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Sean Thompson here, and I'm with attorney Bert Hochberg from the law firm of Schiller, Ducanto, and Fleck. We're talking about divorce arbitration. This is not really a new, or is it a new, innovative way to go through divorce?
Arbitration has been around for decades. It's completely legit and available to resolve divorce cases. The litigants and their lawyers sign an arbitration agreement. They identify what the issues are, and we set up dates, and we determine what experts and witnesses there may be. Arbitration is a hearing, a trial that is intended to finish a case efficiently with limited appeal, with a binding decision, and it's confidential, so it has some great characteristics.
I think it's a unique alternative to divorce. For more information, please visit sdflaw.com and type Bert Hochberg into the search box. That's sdflaw.com or call direct 773-255-6150.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-367-2816. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-367-2816. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-367-2816 or biglou.com.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. Germany has given the world many of the West's most cherished Christmas traditions, including its famous Christmas markets. For centuries, these festive fairs drew visitors from across the world and filled town squares with lights, music, and laughter. But no longer. This year, most of Germany's Christmas markets won't open at all. After Islamist terror attacks in Berlin and Magdeburg, security costs have skyrocketed and many organizers simply can't afford to operate. Police and authorities now admit they're overwhelmed and unable to prevent new terrorist attacks. And so a centuries-old celebration of faith and tradition is simply fading away. This is how a country and a civilization collapse, when capitulation replaces conviction and leaders no longer believe their own culture is worth defending and therefore surrender their heritage without a fight. Shame on Germany's cowardly, failed leadership.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Thanks for joining us on this installment of Chicago's Morning Answer. Keep a lookout for those teal pumpkins in your neighborhood, as we discussed earlier in the program. I'm sure there's some Bennett Academy board members sporting teal pumpkins. I wonder what the Venn diagram of that is. Kamala wonders too. All right, it is now 9. Well, we'll be back tomorrow, of course, with more. It's now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Closing in on a deal with China. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. Stocks are higher to start the morning on Wall Street after President Trump says it's likely a trade deal will be finalized this week.